so that you're able to follow along. We cannot recommend an investment without a goal. And therefore, this is what I want you to write down. The best investment is the one that matches your goal. Let me say that one more time. The best investment is the one that matches your goal. It aligns with the goal that you have. That's the best investment. So you can write that down one more time. The best investment is the one that matches your goal. And so when you come and see investment experts, like our brother Gathinji, who's going to be coming and sharing a couple of minutes from now, when you come and see them, it's vital that you have identified what is my goal. Because if you don't have that goal or outcome, he cannot recommend for you the investment that works. Let me explain. So we have plans, as I said, for school. If you are saving for your children to go to school next term, what's the next term that is beginning in September, isn't it, right? If you're planning for September school fees, one of the best investments that you can make is a savings account. Why? Because it's not a long-term investment. It's a short-term investment that you're going to actually find with a few minutes, within a few months, you're able to collect that money and go and make the payment. Now, if you're investing for your children's school fees in the next 3 months and you put your money in the stock market, you're making a mistake. Why? Because the stock market, yes, it will give you results over time, but you're not sure about especially the short term. Within those 3 months, the stocks you bought could go up, they could, or they could come down. But you have no guarantee of the outcome. And so, for short term, school fees in the next 3 months, best investment like a savings account, because you have security and you have access. But if you're saving, remember for Oxford, we were discussing Oxford or KU, whichever one you want to go to. You're planning for small children and they're going to that university in the next 10, 15 years. Then a huge mistake is to use a savings account. Why? Because in your savings account, you're making about what? 5%, maybe 6% in your savings. What's happening with inflation in this country today? How much is inflation in this country today? 5% or so on average. So you're earning 5% in your savings account and inflation is eating all that same 5%. What's happening to the value of your money? You're not growing. And so you have to select the right investment for the goal. Sorry, you select the investment based on the goal that you have. And that's why we come into the classes here. And each one of these classes is trained by an investment expert. So it is not Centonomy stuff. We go and find fund managers, we find real estate agents. All of them are coming to share what has worked in that industry. I love it because there's often a fight between our trainers, you know. So the guy in real estate comes and says, let me tell you, real estate is the best investment for your life. And the guy in stocks comes and tells, let me tell you, stocks will solve all your problems. But the good thing is because we have planned in advance and we've gone through your goals, you are selecting based on your goals, not someone else's goals. After that, the program now begins to break it down into how we protect our money. So it's not just about making money, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just about making money. It's also the ability to protect. If you don't have an insurance plan, health insurance, property insurance, these are the things that can have a huge impact in your life. If you are to lose, and we saw that over the last couple of months, didn't we see people's houses being washed away, property being washed away? Without insurance, it can be a huge hit. And so we discuss how can insurance be part of your financial plan. We also talk about estate planning. An estate planning you're taken through by an estate planning lawyer who begins to break it down and help you to understand, hey, what plans do I need to have now? It's not just about when I retire, not just about even when I die, because many people think I write a will, it's about death. No, 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 no. Estate planning is about how do you organize your wealth today so that it benefits you now and benefits the generations that are to come. So we talk about that in the estate planning class. We also talk about taxes. Zakayo. My brothers and sisters, have you seen things that are coming that you have never seen before? This year, we were introduced to housing levy here in Kenya, isn't it? What's coming next? Did you see? Yes, so now bread will have what? VAT, which it has never had before. These are the kind of changes that you have to prepare yourself for and make yourself as tax efficient as possible. That's what we have to do. And so in that class, we're going to see. So we're not trying to get you to evade tax. No. Pay tax, but only pay what you must. What's the most efficient way? How do you get benefits from that tax? How do you get some of the reliefs that are offered by the government, even in these tax places? That's what we're going to discuss in that class. And the second last module is the one that everyone needs to attend, which is now My Financial Plan. So we have an entire module which is designed to help you to take all this knowledge from your money management, time value, debt, living abundantly, investment classes, and planning, and we put it into a 5-year financial plan just for you. So that now you begin to see within this next 5 years, these are the items that we're going to get into. And I have to say this, because I know when I mention a word like budgeting, some people already started feeling this is the time to leave. No, it's not the time to leave. When we say budgeting, we mean spending plan. We're going to empower you to spend your money. That's what a budget does. It takes back the control that was lost. Because here's the truth about your money. Guess what? Everybody has a plan for your money, including us. Guess what? That's it is. We're being true. We invited you here because not just out of the kindness of our hearts, but we also want you to come and give us your money. To register for the class and to come in, to buy the books do you see that we have a plan for your money? Do you know your relatives have a plan for your money? The government has a plan for your money. So if you don't have a plan, what tends to happen is it gets lost. Everybody else is coming in and drawing from you, and you don't have the outcome that you have been aiming for. And so I'm asking you now, what plan do you have? Because if you have a plan, then everyone else becomes a secondary affair, and they have to fall into your plan. That's what we're aiming to do. So we get into this financial plan, just as we are right now, and we assist you to put that together and to say, how do we pay down our debt? How do we invest for the goals that we have? How do we begin to manage new incomes? And we're going to challenge you, ladies and gentlemen, to actually get more money. Here's the thing. There is no magic investment in which you're going to come with 500 shillings, $5, put it in, and in the next 10 years, you're suddenly a millionaire. That does not exist. That's called gambling. It is not an investment. So we're going to talk about what are the practical steps that you can begin to take towards that goal. Not magic, but we're going to give you those steps even as we go through. And then finally, we go through the investment groups, which is talking about chamas. In Africa, one of our strengths is that we work together. So we're not trying to chase the Africanness out of you. Please, no. We want you to be as African as you can be. Support one another. Support your relatives. Oh, sometimes people listen to me and they think that Waithaka is trying to stop them from supporting. No. I want you to send money to your relatives. Support them. But send only what you can afford. Because if you're sending more than you can, then you're able to find yourself in a position where everyone now needs help. So let's support where we can and build from where we are. Great. So, as we begin now, I just want to say hi to everybody online. Thank you. At least now you can be able to hear me. Here's the first exercise as we get started before we move on from here. Welcome to the Centonomy Open Day, and we're so glad that you've joined us. Today we're talking about moving from goals to gains. And as we start, I have a small exercise for you. So listen to this story, ladies and gentlemen. I saw it on social media and I said, I'm going to borrow it. In fact, no, I'm stealing it. I'm just going to share it with you. You'll see it again somewhere. A friend of yours borrowed 3,000 shillings from you. A friend of yours borrowed how much? 3,000 shillings from you. They have not paid you back. But now you're in a fix and you need the 3,000 shillings in a rush. You need it now. And so you call your friend and tell them, hey, my friend, remember I lent you 3,000 shillings. I lent you 3,000. I'm in a fix. I really need the 3,000 back. Please send it to me. Please send it to me. And your friend says, you know, hey, even me, I'm in a tough position. The 3,000, I don't think I have. But I might have, you know, maybe 500 bob or so. At least that I can send you. But please, no, send me the 3,000. I need the full amount. But your friend tells you, no, I only have 5. You know, let me just try. Let me try. Okay. So that evening, right? You go to sleep hoping that your friend is going to send you the money. In the morning, you wake up and find that you have 37 missed calls and about 5 messages from your friend saying, listen to this. Now, please look at your Mpesa or your bank account, depending on which one you use. Please look at your Mpesa. You can see I sent you 5,000 by mistake. I did not mean to send you 5,000. I meant to send you how much? 500. Please send me back 4,500. Please send it back to me. Now, you are in a fix, right? And you needed the money. So you have 3 options. You have option A, send your friend back the difference, which was 4,500. You have option B, which is to keep the 3,000 that they owed you and send them back the 2,000. And you have option C, which is to keep the entire 5,000. Very good. All those for option A of sending back their money. Please raise your hand. 2 of us in the room. Okay, and online, please raise your hand online if you can. I'm just trying to see how many people are there. Who would send back the money? Okay, we have 3 people in the room. Online, how many do we have? You just shout out at me. If you have 3 or so, I can see online. 4. Okay, 4 people. Good. Option B, keep your 3,000 that they owed you in place. Okay. Oh, just look around you for those who said option B. Look around you. Okay, and option C, keep the 5,000 because I can see the 5,000 people here. Okay, good. Please just have a look at your partner, the person seated next to you, and ask them, which option did you take? Just ask them, which one did you take and why? Let them explain to you why. Why did you take that option? In the chat box online, kindly type, why did you pick your option? And all these people who are thieves here, who stole 5,000, those ones, you know which people not to send money now. All right. I wish all our financial choices were as simple as that. It seems simple to me. And I pray you'll have a more meaningful discussion amongst your friends seated next to you after this about the options that you've made. But not all our financial decisions are as simple as that. And that's why I've got a couple of amazing human beings to come and share their experience with you. And so I'm going to invite my brother, a good friend of mine. He's the head of investments at Stanbic Bank. Can we put our hands together for Mr. Kingori Gathinji? He's coming to share from his experience, and he'll be telling you more about this journey of moving from financial goals to gains. Give him a hand again. Thank you.
Good morning. It's wonderful to be here and wonderful to be with you. I'd like us all to just settle in this moment. You've just gotten quite a bit of information on steps you're about to take. I'm going to give you more information about things that you can do to move towards your preferred financial future. But it's a lot of information. So even as we go on with this discussion and we look forward to the rest of the presenters and the speakers who are going to speak, you have to make a decision. You have to decide online, in the room, what did I come expecting to hear, to take away? What action am I planning to pursue in order to move towards my preferred financial future? My name, as you have heard, is Kingori Gathinji. I'm looking at the clock, so I'll be able to keep to my time, and we're going to have a sprint of a discussion. So that's what I'm dressed for. It's a sprint of a discussion through the subject of from goals to gains. How do we ensure that this discussion about money and personal financial management is not a theoretical one, that we actually are able to go from A to B to C? So that's what I do at the bank, and we run a program called the Financial Fitness Academy. You're looking at the intro slide and you're seeing different names. Let me tell you a little bit about who that is. We are part of the Standard Bank Group. The Standard Bank Group, which is the largest bank on the continent by assets. So we've been on the continent for over 160 years. In Kenya, we've been here for about 100 years. So kama hamjasikia kuhusu Stanbic Bank, shida ni wewe, si mimi. We've been around here. I just want to give you the comfort that when we talk and we say that Kenya is our home and we drive her growth, it is about you and I and the things we can do. Personally, I've been doing a version of what I'm going to talk about for about 20 years. I'm hoping I don't look like I've been doing it for 20 years, that it's a little bit less. But I've been talking to people about money for some time, and sometimes, to be honest, the message does not land. You speak to people, you meet people, you have sessions, and somehow we are stuck. We are not able to move. Financial fitness is intentional in introducing the word fitness to replace the word literacy. And I'll explain the difference. Fitness is what you can do. We're not just talking about what you know, it's what you can do with that knowledge. I love that exercise that my brother, my good friend, and when I say my brother, my good friend, they are words with meaning. You know how politicians say my good friend, halafu wanamaliza tu in front of the whole public. This is my good friend, and to be honest, Mr. Waithaka Gatumia has actually shared elements of everything I hoped to say. Everything I hope to say. So this is about reinforcement. Now there's an exercise that was carried out by S&P. S&P are a large global institution, and they do a financial literacy survey every 4 to 5 years. 150,000 people around the world above the age of 15, 148 countries, and they ask them 4 questions to determine, are you financially literate? The latest survey confirms a growing trend that 33% of human beings on this world who are handling money are financially illiterate. No, let me rephrase that. 33%, a third, are literate. So 1 in 3. So look to your left, look to your right, and you are one of us. Anahitaji usaidizi. Or 2, I keep on mixing it up, it's 2. So one of you will help the other 3. So that's what that's about. And it's telling us it's a serious problem, because you will see that people who are financially literate, online, in the room, have the ability to make informed financial decisions regarding saving, investing, borrowing, and more. So that's the urgency of it. I've told you who I am. Now, many times when we do these presentations, people ask me, please share the presentation, do something like that. For one, we know that today, the outcome that will change your life is actually signing up for the program. It's signing up for the program and beginning that journey. But if you want to understand a little bit about the Financial Fitness Academy, we have an app. These days, if you don't have an app, if you're not online, you don't exist. So we have an app. Everything that I'm saying is available online, and we call it What Matters. What Matters. And it's from Stanbic Bank, it's from our group. We run it across the world, or the continent if you like. What Matters. So everything I say, what I emphasize, what I share is available online. One of the things you can do is a financial health check. This is where we disabuse ourselves of the notion of I am here, I am there. Because even as we talk about goals to gains, if you do not know where you are going, you don't know when you've arrived. But if you do not know where you are extremely confused. So the idea is to establish a clear starting point, and it's something you can do free of charge. You go in there, you do a financial health check, depending on where your life is and where you are in life. You do it alone at night, or you do it together with friends, and you confirm where you are on your journey. Financial health check. This is Msemakweli from Stanbic Bank. If you forget everything else I said, which is quite possible when I know Mirriam will come and give you a testimonial, Janet will come and tell you about her exciting journey, by the end of the day you will say, Kingori, who? Remember this. This is something that Waithaka has spoken about, and we believe a financially fit individual should be able to look at the wealth framework, see themselves at the heart of their wealth journey, and ask themselves these questions. Now, I will tell you to write, but like I told you, there's an app. You can go there and you will see. The first question is create and build. How do I make my money? What is my hustle? It seems like an obvious question. I will show you how you're not being deliberate enough about answering that question if you're not financially fit. Then we will talk about live and enjoy. One of the presenters, facilitators of the program always says this is his favorite quadrant. Live and enjoy. Maisha ni kuji, enjoy. I accept that. So we're saying, how do you spend your money? You walk up and you go and you tell people these are my priorities. But when we look at how you spend your money, then we know what you are about when we see the spending decisions. So your future, your journey, the gains you are making are being determined by what? How you spend your money. Then we will talk about what I do daily. Daily at the bank, I help people make investment decisions. I say, what do you have? How do we put it to work? We call it save and invest. How do you grow your money? If your money is not working for you, there is a problem. It means you have to work twice as hard. I'm speaking to our people who say, I am risk averse. I only put my money in savings, mattress, safe places. Pahali taifil nione, I know here yendi popote. You are the most risky people out there because it means every day, kama si kuibiwa, it's inflation, and you're wondering, why am I not moving forward in life? Like I told a team yesterday, hujarogwa. Shida ni, you're not making the right decisions. Choices have consequences, doesn't every Kenyan know? Principles, beliefs are not here to separate your own. One of the things we say is, your wealth, number 2, is linked to your life's purpose. Please don't come in here as whoever you came in and walk out a completely different person with different beliefs. I was going to say ni kama umeokoka. Kuokoka ni a cross in the main sanctuary. Here is to connect with what is your purpose. How has it been clarified by what you have heard? Then you and your family are unique. We are trying to address the challenge of lifestyle creep. So you want to look like your friend. You want to live like the neighbors. You want to be where they are, but you do not know their journey. And then finally, we are saying start with the end in mind. So I want you to, as we start, and I'm 5 minutes in, as we start, be very clear about where you want to end. This is an exercise because we discovered very early on that it's difficult to educate adults. And I see younger people, older people, but I'm generally seeing adults. Why is it difficult to educate adults or to show them a new ways? Because kiasi, we already know. It's not like you came here knowing nothing. So for the next 20, 50 minutes, really, as you listen to everybody, I want you to just suspend your knowledge of what you know. Allow knowledge to enter. It is hard to fill a vessel that's already full. So can we empty a little bit of what we know? Take your hands, put them in front of you. If you're right-handed, Dr. Peter Senge says, that hand, don't move it. Consider that hand your preferred financial future. Mahali unaenda. Your other hand, your weaker hand, for me, my left hand, ni shida za kila siku. Sitataja jina ambalo nilisikia hapo awali because I might say the name and on Monday I find a tax appraisal on my desk. I'm being told you're living a very good life. Dr. Peter Senge says in physics, tension, there is tension between who you want to be and who you are now. The tension will resolve itself to the one that does not move. So when you talk about from goals to gains, your goals, where you're trying to go, should not change from month to month, salary to salary, business to business. So when you're thinking about planning, just say this will not change, but my current circumstances might. So umechoka kiasi, you will not forget preferred reality. Know who you are. I've already talked about it. These are just examples of different people. You have the wary one, you have the hustler, you have the big spender. We used to say, be this or the other. Now we are saying, be yourself, know yourself. Very quickly, I'm going to now take you through how we normally go through the wealth framework. The first thing we ask you is, how do you make your money? Create and build. You might be interested to know at the end of every quadrant, there is a small prize. If you are careful and you are attentive, you might see it. Here we are saying many things, but for the purpose of today's discussion, we're saying, are you investing in yourself? How much time do you spend improving yourself, getting information, getting knowledge? Or are you part of the older way of thinking that says, I went to school, I studied, Nikola Makaratasi, and you're still relying on those papers 20 years on? Dangerous strategy. We're saying invest in yourself, stay focused, because there are no shortcuts. This is my favorite slide and my takeaway. It is to say, every journey can yield results. There are different journeys to wealth creation. You could be an entrepreneur, you could be a corporate employee, karibu sana to those who are coming in at the moment. You could be a self-employed professional. Each journey, it is a function of time. Waithaka spoke about time. There is no substitute for time. The urgency to this discussion is to say, you need to start yesterday rather than tomorrow so you can give yourself more time regardless of the journey. This is where the problem comes in. Wengi wetu have bought into this idea that I will only work in corporate for so long so I can become my own boss. I will only do this for so long so I can become that. You are jumping from journey to journey. Ni kama umesema ninaenda Mombasa, ukifika Machakos, watu wanasikia, mimi nienda wote. Then I'm going here. You need to put in the time. We need to learn patience on our journeys. This is actually not just lines, it is statistical. We're looking at general statistics that show how wealth is accumulated over the life. You will see the entrepreneur, call them the hustler, they will have the potential to reach quite high, but it'll be up and down. At the end of every section, I told you there's a prize, and I don't know what you are thinking about. The prize here ni mawazo, that you actually get challenged to think. How do you currently create your wealth? Are you clear about it? 2, think of the ways you could leverage your skill set to increase your value in the marketplace. And finally, think of the risks to your ability to make money. That is how you move from goals to gains. There's a quote we share, and it's from Jim Rohn. It says this: we get paid for bringing value. We get paid for bringing value to the marketplace. So we get paid for value and not time. I told you there was a prize. Would you believe that we work in a country where people say there are no jobs. There are no jobs. I want to tell you that there are no jobs for everybody. Are you everybody? You're not everybody. Look at your situation as an individual. Look at what you can offer the marketplace. Halafu nionde kando, and I will tell you about some of the opportunities at Stanbic Bank for people who are looking to grow themselves. Let's talk about live and enjoy. How you spend your money. Trusting that I'm in touch with the online audience, you've been able to lock out all the distractions. I know since COVID in particular, we are into hybrid and virtual learning. Hopefully we can move together and you can get something out of it in the next few minutes. Here we're saying live a life you can afford. Live a life you can afford. And make choices in line with your budget. I want to tell you a story about where I went to high school. We had, I was in a boarding school, and in boarding schools, mutu gonjeka, and there's normally a nurse. We used to call it a sanatorium or the pharmacy. I hope nobody will contradict me, maybe somebody from my school. But whether you had a headache, ulikuwa umeteguka, unaumwa na tumbo, umeshinda kuelewa hesabu, the prescription was one, paracetamol. Na tulikuwa tunapona. This is my paracetamol. It is called the budget, and you heard it spoke about. I want to submit to you today, look at your neighbor and say, all your financial challenges originate from your commitment to the use of paracetamol, known as a budget. If you have a disciplined budget and you are fortunate enough to find gainful work, you will achieve your financial goals. Have I said you will be sonko? No. Have I said you will be everything? No, but you will achieve your goals. We have this prescription that we share, just as a guide in the program, to tell you how to think about the budget. And I want to focus on one line, the 50% of fixed costs. If you earn 50,000 shillings net, we are saying 25,000 shillings should take care of your housing, your clothing, your food, your transport, na karo za shule, if you have people you're educating. Normally people say that's a bit simple, and I think it is, because I didn't come here to complicate things for you. It is simple to do, very difficult to live. Because you will do that calculation and you will realize, I am living beyond my means. And this is where choices come in. And you ask yourself, one, can I increase my 50% without doing anything illegal? Or do I have to move home, way down? That is how you know you're changing. So that's my paracetamol, and I'm saying live your life according to a budget. We would be remiss as a bank if we did not talk about borrowing responsibly. Borrowing responsibly. Sometimes I get in trouble with my colleagues, and I know some of them are here, because they say, do you know who pays your salary? And I come here and tell people, not every loan that is available to you is one you should take. A few quick debt principles from Stanbic Bank. Be aware of too much interest. Be aware of funding wants with debt. Be aware of hidden costs. Have full visibility of all your debt. Kama umesukumwa sana, you're feeling that the interest rates have gone up, we're not in control, usitoroke, usijifiche, talk to the bank. And this is why it's important to take loans from reputable institutions who will behave as reputable institutions. Because we will tell you that you should tackle the debt with the higher interest rates first. You should pay off credit cards. And you can put credit cards, Fuliza, other forms of debt that people find easy to access, but in a kushika, it holds you back. Consider debt counseling, consider consolidation. These are discussions that we can have. Sell assets for cash, and you already heard you will be told about assets. Whatever you do, when you find yourself in this situation, be disciplined enough, be strong enough not to add more debt to the pile. I told you at the end of every section, we are asking you, the way you move from the theoretical to the practical is to turn the camera on yourself. Think, are you living a life you can afford? In the following areas: house, car, hobbies, family, and other areas of your life. Answer that question to your satisfaction. Be honest with yourself. Jiangalie na usijidanganye, you will be closer to where you're trying to get to. Now we will talk about what I do every day, and we're coming to the end of this brief overview of the way to think about your money, the way to think about your finances, the way to be able to take deliberate steps to where your preferred financial future. You're clearer now because you clarified it a few minutes ago. You've been thinking about it. You are hearing things that are either reinforcing your view or asking you to consider where you are. Saving and investing is a topical national issue because we know as a country we are not saving enough. The statistics are there. We're able to look at the gross savings rate of us as Kenyans. It is way below 15%. It needs to be above 20% for us to be able to grow as a nation. But the mistake people make when they talk about saving and investing, and I alluded to it earlier, is to confuse a saving with an investment. When you save, you do not consume. So instead of driving here, you take an Uber if it is cheaper. Instead of eating out at the kibanda, which can be a bit more expensive, you bring food from home. Hata kama inakuboesha. You do things to save. But to invest, you need to take those savings and make a calculated risk. And I'm preempting a question I get asked often by people. Is investing in cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin an investment? And I normally tell them without fear of contradiction, the way politicians say, that is not an investment. And saa zingine unaona mtu amekasirika, they don't want to talk to you again because many people are into Bitcoin. Am I saying don't invest in Bitcoin? No. I'm just saying you need to be clear when you are making what we call a speculative investment. Why are cryptocurrencies considered speculative? Because the outcome is very difficult to determine. So you save by saying, I will live at this level, itajinyima kiasi, so that I can have something. Remember the paracetamol prescription. If you are spending only 25,000, now ulikuwa umelipwa 50,000 net, it means you have 25,000 shillings ambayo inakuomba kazi. It's saying, what do I do for you? And that's when you come to Stanbic, you come to different players in the market and you say, I have this money. But if you do not, if you're living beyond your means, you will find it's very difficult to have this discussion of saving and investing. Why is it urgent? Waithaka spoke about inflation. Saving, then investing is not a nice thing to do, it is a necessity. Because every day the money in your pocket is losing value at the rate of 5% today. A year ago it was at the rate of nearer 10%. So we're saying, if you just say that I do not invest, I am risk averse, you are losing value, you are not meeting your goals that we've spoken about. So we're saying investing is not a luxury. You need to find investments that match your goals and move towards them. Compound interest, and there's a quote here from Albert Einstein, is the way to move faster towards that goal. And here, you might not see the Stanbic blue that is saying, compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it, he who does not pay it. So if you kama umeelewa, it is working for you because you're reinvesting. Kama hujaielewa, it is working against you because your debts ni kama zina zaana. It's like they are just growing and growing. This one gives you that one. So we are saying you need to understand compound interest and get it to work for you. Quick exercise. You are told there are no exams in the Centonomy program, but there are exams in life. And this is a quick one. Actually, we were told the exam in the Centonomy program is your life. One of the 4 questions in that survey that I spoke to you about at the beginning, one of the 4 questions they ask is about compound interest. They only ask 4 questions. 150,000 people around the world, 4 questions. One of them is, do you understand compound interest? Do you understand that if you take 250 shillings a month and you invest it for 5 years, but you're just putting it, you will have, with no interest, 15,000. At 8%, 18,370. If you stop investing after 5 years and you resist the urge to take the money out, you just let it grow. You invest for 5 years, unajinyima, unajikaza, you invest for 5 years, then you let it go for 15 years, you're at 60,750. Now the magic becomes, if you take that small investment, allow it to compound, and you keep investing, whether you get a salary increase, you get a bit of a challenge, you say, I will keep investing from whatever you started. After 20 years, remember here we are all talking about the same time frame. After 20 years, you will have 147,255. It's all relative. If you're not excited by small figures, put $1 on the end of that 250. Uone kama umetosheka sasa. The idea is where you are, can you commit for the long term? We're coming to the end. We're asking you to think. Thinking, as I was once told by a teacher who was not very impressed with how I was presenting, thinking is a disease that some of us do not suffer from. Think. Apply. Don't let it just pass you. Can you afford to invest in that way? Can you commit for that time? What are your long-term savings goals? Do you have, number 3, enough money for an emergency fund? 3 to 6 months. Useme nimechoka na hii kazi. I want to find myself. I want to go out there. Would you survive for 3 to 6 months? Another story I can tell you about afterwards. We believe that it's not all about money. It's not all about finances. I am excited when I hear about the people who are online, the people in this room, that you have the opportunity, and we call it the ripple effect, to change your destiny, the destiny of your family, the destiny of this country, dare I say, to influence the course of humanity itself by saying, what can I do? Many of us, we wait until we are 500 in a room. Then you say, we can do it. I know you've come here as a group. You haven't come as a group, but you're in a group. But as an individual, as Kingori, you can decide, huyu jamaa alikuwa anasema mambo mengi, wacha aende na zake. Or you can go and say, actually, there's this thing he said that struck me. Let me go onto the app. Let me talk to my banker. Let me talk to an investment professional. What can I do now to change the way things are moving? We call it the ripple effect. Mother Teresa, who had a huge impact, was humble enough to say that she alone could not change the world, but she could cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. Think about how you can give back to your local community, impact your country, pay your taxes, leave an inheritance, start a family business, go in, share your passions, do something, impact society. Time, passions, or money. The wealth framework is about balance. Hustle, give back. Find your purpose, make some money on the journey. Albert Einstein again says, it's every man's and woman's obligation to put back into the world at least the equivalent of what they take out. My final quadrant, you will realize we've gone around this, and I hope online it's quite clear that I've introduced to you the subject of how you make your money. We've talked a little bit about spending decisions. I've prescribed paracetamol. I hope you will take the medicine. We've talked about investing, and we said there's a difference between saving and investing. Be clear in your mind so that you don't lose your way. We said it's important to give back, and you sometimes need to do it on your own, even as you wait for others to join you. Now, there are things in life you cannot control, and in conclusion, we are saying, do you have an updated will in place? Do you have an updated will in place? And I see you there looking at me and saying, hata vitu sina. Nataka niandike will ya kuachia watu mashida. It is not just about what you have. I may not have much today, but as we say in my community, do not despise me because of where I am. Tell people what you are about. Tell people how you want to be remembered. Tell them things about you. And for the things that you cannot protect against, we are saying there is insurance. Insurance penetration in Kenya is 3%. It means if I look here and maybe I say my fellow presenters are the 3%, the rest of you are risks waiting to happen. 3%. Many of you are on groups where you're raising funds when people pass away, which unfortunately is a part of life. There's insurance for that. Talk to us and we'll tell you about an insurance product where you pay monthly to ensure that you can take care of those things where they happen. Money is a tool, Ayn Rand says. It will take you wherever you wish to go, but it will not replace you as a driver. As I finish, and I believe I have been faithful to time, we've colored the wealth framework from our perspective as Stanbic Bank. It is now illuminated. We believe there's a journey there that we can walk together, where you understand those things. But you will notice at the heart of it, and for us, financial fitness is you coming in, unanitafuta, and you say, I heard you, but these are the things I want to do. This is my plan. And I know the team at Centonomy, in the course of the program, will be empowering you to come up with that financial plan. I hope this quote inspires you as much as we have. We've been running this program for 7 years. Across Africa, we've spoken to over 100,000 participants in 2023 alone. And you'll be interested to discover we found that our problems are more similar than they are different. It says that a dream written down with a date becomes a goal broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action that is so often missing will make your dreams come true. Your next steps might look like this. You'll refine your budget, you'll take your medicine, you will set your goals, you'll take control of your future, and because we live in the world that we do, you'll be aware of fraud and cyber crime, because these things come. You can contact us at Financial Fitness Kenya. My colleagues, some of whom are in the room, will be with me there, and we will talk to you about a few things. Finally, I just want to give you an opportunity. This is an opportunity. We talked about chamas. It's a Kenyan phenomenon, chamas. You're either in one, being gotten into one, or your partner is in one, or your parent is in one. We have a product called the Stanbic Chama app. Stanbic Chama app. Everything about us today is digital. Hakuna form utajaza. You'll go onto the app store. I'll share the link. We'll be out there. I want you once again, because we're in this context, to look to your left and to look to your right. Just do that. Kama hata mjui, just look to your left and look to your right. Ndio mko watatu. Ndio hiyo ni chama. Now listen to this. To earn 14% on 1,000 shillings or more, 14% on 1,000 shillings or more on the Stanbic Chama app, You do not need the person on your right. You do not need the person on your left. You download the app and you say, Mimi ni chama as Kingori. You go in, you designate a goal, and you start to earn what? 14%. Will you always be able to earn 14%? No, because rates change. What I'm telling you is, there are actions you can take today to build up an emergency fund that is earning you a return above the rate of inflation. As I conclude, I want to tell you a story about what I've been trying to say for the last 30 minutes. I came here today on behalf of Stanbic Bank and the Financial Fitness Academy to speak to you in the room, to partner with Centonomy, to hear from the other presenters, but really to remind us of how to walk. How to walk. Far too few of us were taught about money when we should have been taught about money. Most of us begin to learn about money when you get your first salary, when you are actually holding it. So it's like we start life running. I have a son who's 12 years old, and I still remember I was able to capture it on video, his first steps. He had gotten out of his crib. It was like prison break. Alikuwa ametoka the crib, he stood, his hands went up for balance, akaanza kutembea. Today the guy is flying. The problem is, as we started flying, tukapata loan, tukapata salary, we started making decisions, tukaanza kukula interest instead of reinvesting the interest. So what we're saying at the Financial Fitness Academy is hakuna haya, there is no shame. You've done the right decision. You can pat yourself on the back. You came here. But today, you learn and you start to learn how to walk again. And when you learn how to walk, I have no doubt, one day, you will be running. Asanteni sana.
For the amazing job he's done. We're filling up. Thank God for that. We are moving quickly. So we said this time around, we're learning together. If you have a question, you will raise your hand, and I'll pick a couple from here. If you're online, please type that question into the chat box so that we can be able to pick that. Hey, to everybody on Facebook, we've seen you all there and can see quite a few of you on Facebook as well. Welcome into the Centonomy Open Day. I don't see hands up, so I'm going to go to questions quickly. This is your opportunity to ask Mr. Kingori his question now, as he's there. If not, I'll go straight to the ones that are online. Malvin, do you have any questions that are coming through there? I think I'd picked one that had come on that side. How old do you have to be to start saving? That one I got from Facebook. It was, I don't know if it was a joke or somebody was being serious.
No.
Yes, but I'll take it seriously.
It is a very serious question. I try to keep away from quotes,
yes.
But it's a famous quote in our line of work, and it's from Warren Buffett. He started investing, if you've read his story, when it was 11.
Yes.
And people say his greatest regret about starting at 11 and becoming the world's second, third richest man is he started too late. This is the thing.
At age 11.
At age 11.
He started too late.
He started
So if you're in this room,
late.
it's a bit late. But we can get started. Don't worry. We're getting started.
So start early.
So I'm just going to check on this side. Any question? Yes.
Hi, my name is Evelyn, and I have a question. You've said about investing your money and consolidating your monies. Now, when we were in school, we had different banks that came and encouraged us to open the different accounts, and we have different banks and the different investments. So what are the things do I consider when I want to invest with a bank? And then number two, does it necessarily mean that because there is a return like 14% that it's for me? How do I know that this is for me, but this money I can invest it on something else? What are the things that I can consider? Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Evelyn. It's a deep question. First, what questions should you ask? Remember, we talked about the definition of financial literacy. It's having the ability to make good, prudent decisions on saving, investing, borrowing. So we are saying, selfishly, deal with regulated entities. You talked about banks that came. One of the tragedies we are seeing in the investment world is people who are investing in vehicles, and you know the story about pyramid schemes, you know those sort of things, and they are investing on a hope. Remember I told you the difference between investing and speculating is there's a calculated return. Waithaka told you, and I support that statement, that there is no bad investment. What they are inappropriate investments. You're looking to build a short-term fund, you need liquidity, you go into long-term investments. So I would say deal with entities that, one, carry out a financial self-appraisal. So for instance, at Stanbic Bank, we will sit and understand you, Evelyn, and we will say this is what we think is appropriate. And two, look at the cost of investing. So do not be spending too much in commissions, in the costs of managing the investment. There are many investments. Government bonds are an example. The Kenya government, as we speak today, is paying on one of its bonds 18. Remember I talked about 14? There's other things out there. 18% on a tax-free bond. Tax-free. Sounds like an animal that will soon be extinct. Tax-free bond. You can get that today from as little as 50,000 shillings if you know where to look. Yeah. So sometimes build a portfolio, and I should say that, build a portfolio, Evelyn. Start out not to find one investment, but find different investments, look at the cost, and then deal with reputable partners. I don't want to comment on who specifically for reasons.
So a big part of it, and that's a really important question, how do I know it's right for me? That's what the Centonomy class is going to help you. Because if it's right for you is when you've made a choice based on a goal. So even as you're going to engage, we've, Bona Kingori here is from Stanbic Bank. At the beginning of this year, we had NCBA Bank with us here. We've partnered with many other financial institutions because as Centonomy, we don't do the investment. We are training you so that you have the right knowledge in order to go and engage now with them. So that you're saying, I've sat down, I've said, I want my children to go to this university, and I want them to go in this number of years. Which investment is going to get us to that goal? That's what we're doing here. So when you go and sit with Bona Kingori, he will tell you now about the options that are in place with the knowledge that you have received. So we're coming to the questions online, but I had one last one.
Great. My name is Kingori Wachira. That's quite important. So I've seen under the investment, I would like you to just explain briefly about the unit trust and part of its fundamentals.
Thank you, my namesake. Unit trusts. So one of the reasons that stops people investing is they are trying to get enough money to invest. But because you do not invest, you will never have enough money. It's called a vicious cycle. Unit trusts are an opportunity for you to pool your resources with other individuals, just in case so we're all talking about the same thing. You hear people talking about money market funds. The game changer is this. When you pool your funds into a vehicle like a unit trust, let's call it a money market fund, your 1,000 shillings in that fund will earn the same return as a person who has put in 50 million shillings. But you will be able to participate in products that you would not have been able to purchase with your 1,000 shillings. At the bank, one of the products that I sold a lot in 2023 was a Kenya Euro bond. The Kenya Euro bond. Now, to invest in the Kenya Euro bond directly is $200,000 to invest in it directly. But if you go into a US dollar money market fund, you will find that you have exposure to that asset class with your investment of 10, 20,000 shillings. So unit trusts are an entry product into the financial markets. They are democratizing access to that market. It is a space that we intend to play in, and there are many providers in the market, and we think more people should access them. They offer you liquidity, they offer you the advantage of professional management because there is a fund manager making those decisions for you and on your behalf, and I think, Kengori, it's a great way to go.
Just to add on that, we have, as I mentioned, we have a class on bonds, bills, and unit trusts so that you understand what a unit trust is. So he's given a brief description of it as a pooled investment, but they're not all the same. So you have what you call a money market fund, which is different from an equity fund, which is different from a balanced fund, which is different now from a bonds fund. All it is from, and also different from an I-rate. An I-rate is when you're invested in real estate, now as a pooled fund. So in the class, we take you through the structure, what it looks like, what are the safeguards, but we also begin to explain which one of these is right for you. Because everyone in this room has had money market fund, but how many have had heard of all the other ones? Bonds fund, balanced fund, I-rate, all those. Which one is right for the goal that you have? And it's important for us to get there. Bwana Kingori, what is a CDS account? What is its significance? Should I have it? What's the advantage of having a CDS account? Yes. That's from the online, and I have one more question from the online as we move on to be as fair as possible. We've taken 2 here, 2 online as well. Yeah.
Very quickly, a CDS account is an account that holds shares and corporate bonds. It's issued by the Central Depository System Company. You need it if you're looking to buy shares. You need it to hold corporate bonds. Now, the confusion, if I can just clarify, there is also something called the CSD account from the same government of Kenya. CSD is Central Systems Depository Account. It's also called the DAO, and it is a way to invest in government bonds with the Central Bank of Kenya. We at Stanbic Bank are able to guide you on the journey for those 2. Remember, one is for shares at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. The other is for bonds at the Central Bank of Kenya.
Ladies and gentlemen, give Mr. Kingori a hand as he goes to have a seat. That was amazing. I really appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you. I just want to, as I sit down, to say again, we are very excited to stand on a platform with Centonomy. We applaud the work you are doing, you and your team are doing, and we hope that together we can move Kenya forward. I just want to mention again, on what I am projecting at the moment, the Stanbic Chama app. Sometimes people say, you know what, Stanbic Bank is not just for me. I just don't feel it. Final point about the Chama app, you don't even need to open an account with us. You can do it, walk away. Thank you.
I told you, good opportunities that are ahead of you. So we're moving on well. I want to just do one quick exercise so that you begin to understand why we start off with personal money management. I've done it many times, but you're going to follow along with it as well. Everybody put up your hands with your palms facing out towards me like this. So this is how you begin to see why it's important to take control of your money, all right? If you live in this wonderful continent of Africa, on average, we are taxed 30% of our income. So how many fingers do you have? 10. So remove 3 of them. How many are left up? 7. So that's the money after you've paid tax. All right? Generally in Africa. Where next does your money go? Shout out. Rent. So housing, remove the whole hand. You have now paid for where you live. Now you have 1 hand left. Where does your money go next after that? Transport, very good. Remove 1 of the fingers. You have 4. Where next? Food, wonderful. If you have many children like me, just put your hand down. The rest of you, if you have just a few children, put 1 finger down. Okay, where does your money go after that? To what, sorry? Sherehe, yes. For those who may not understand sherehe, we are talking about enjoyment, isn't it? Removed. Now, depending on the size of sherehe that you usually do, let's assume that you take 10% of that, so you have 2 fingers left. Where next does your money go? Relatives. We're Africans. I don't like black tax. I say family support. Family support, that's a useful one. Remove 1 of the fingers. Very good. Before we remove the last one, because we are in a church setting, we have borrowed this space from a church. Excuse me. Excuse me to all the people who say they're religious. Where were you? Where? Are you sure? So you have given that one already. So I asked you, where does your money go? And I was waiting for somebody to stand up and shout, saving. After you heard Mr. Kingori, someone stand and shout, investing. We have finished all your fingers. And there is no saving done yet. So in the class, we begin, and you can write this down by saying, pay yourself first. And how do you pay yourself first? By saving and investing. And so our next speaker is actually going to come and tell us a little bit about her journey of this in the Centonomy class. We're going to ask Mirriam to come and join me. Mirriam Wachira, who's a Centonomy alumnus. She's coming to share what she experienced in those small journeys, those small learnings, as we get to learn from that. That hand was too small for what she's doing. For what she's doing. Hey! Come on! That's it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Waithaka. I don't know even where to start because what I was to mention has already been discussed. My names are on the screen. Mirriam Wachira. I'm a Centonomy alumni. Probably I'll try to loop in my story and also part of my learnings a lot in Centonomy and also in books that you come across. So what drove me to join Centonomy? How do I put it? I knew about Centonomy in 2015. But I remember, I think I saw something with Carol Motuko talking about it. And then I said, this is for women who have already achieved. This one, let me not try right now. Hii ni ya watu wenye wanajiweza, wako na pesa. So I just used to listen to the clips and I just say, yeah, it makes sense, but sometimes you say, you know, when you are young, damu ni moto, sindio? Na pesa kidogo. Yeah? Though we say, you should not say pesa ni kidogo. There is no pesa kidogo. Sorry, Mr. Waithaka. You know you told us don't talk about negatively about your money. So, so when you're young, of course, fresh from university, lucky probably to be employed, or even before you finish university, you've started getting a few contracts here and there, so you get money. And of course, the first thing you want to do is to make sure that your peers know you have money, right? For those who have finished university, is it true? Yeah, because you want to show, at least to me. Yeah, so what happens is when you finish university, those few years back, the first thing you want to own is a car. You want to own a car so that you can be driving, because it's a symbol of showing you're doing well. It's paying off, you know, going to university. Some of these decisions you make, you never realize the impact. You're told you are who you are today because of the choices you made yesterday. So, of course, when you want to own that car by then, probably your first employment, you either had a bank account, of course, because you're sending money, but probably some employers will tell you, no, we need you to open a bank account in a certain bank. And for that bank, I don't know if it's still there, in terms of the conditions, for that bank to give you a credit facility, you have to have, operated for 6 months, so that they see the health of your bank statements, to see if you're eligible for a bank loan, to buy a car, not to do anything else, to buy a car. Let's go back before we get there. In my upbringing, I wouldn't say I've not robbed a lot of money or I've not seen, depending on the ranges of money. Why? Because my dad was a businessman. So when we used to close school, after Form 1, in fact, after Class 8, he had a spare shop. So when you close school, you have to go there and operate at the spare shop as you do your homework. So you'll come across various ranges of customers, and they will pay up depending on the part that they buy. So at that point, you see a lot of money and you think that money will be there forever. Fast forward when you become now an adult, after work, 22, 23, depending on what period you finish your university, 21 if you're lucky, depending on the system you're doing. And now you have to get a job that gives you, you call it, in quotes, ridiculous amount of money because you're used to seeing more than that. And I remember telling my dad, I don't think I deserve to get employed. I think I need to come back. He told me, no. Go, get a job so that you know how to pay bills, how to do the right things. Because if you stay here, you'll be comfortable and always think it's a summer. In life, there are always the 4 seasons. There is a financial summer, financial autumn, financial winter, and financial spring. So in this life, you will always, even in life itself, without finances, you'll always experience that. A good example is during COVID, a lot of people experienced financial winter. And winter will always come. Trust you me, even if you earn whatever amount you earn right now, maybe way above your peers, and your peers probably are still tamarking, others are doing contractual jobs, you know, getting here and there. Sometimes there is no work. Sometimes they're also doing businesses. Businesses are tough. But for you, you are probably on a financial summer. Always remember that there'll be a winter that will come. How do you cushion yourself from that? And that's why, as a young person, I look at all the faces here. We have all age groups, mostly young people. In fact, I wish somebody told me when I was in university to come for Centonomy, but I don't think it was there. In 2006? Yes. Yeah, so I wish if it was there, I would have come. Probably I would know better in handling money. Because you learn that money is a tool, as King Ori has said, it's a medium. And it does not define who you are. Always remember that. Money does not define who you are. It is how you handle that money that determines who you are. Always remember that. So, you might look down on somebody right now because they might not be doing so well, but probably what they have right more than you is a financial plan. It is very critical. It is always very important to have a financial plan. It gives you the way forward on what you're aiming at in the future. Most of the times you want to bring your future very fast before when it is supposed to, right? And you listen, I tend to read a lot of articles of Biko Zulu. I know most of you know Biko. He tends to do quite a bit of business daily articles with the various people on finances. And I came across this article. He interviewed 2 billionaires in this country, Manu Chandaria and Rasik Kantaria. And it was very interesting to think that, you know, you'd think that these people have grown in money and, you know, money is, but it has been built. It is generational wealth, which they have been incorporated by the beginners of the creators or the creators of that wealth to get to where they are, and they learned the skill. Sometimes I say that's where the Asian community beats as the local community in terms of wealth creation and also impacting it over generations from their children, to show them you have to earn it. You don't deserve it. You have to earn it. And they start with the basic jobs like a messenger, wiping the table. Yes, you are a son to the owner of the company, but you have to start down there to appreciate when you get up there. And one thing, Manu, what stood out for me in that interview is that Manu, he owns a lot of industries. He's this billionaire. Everybody, when he's talking, everybody would fill in here to just listen what he has to say, right? And he said his brother owns 150 suits. But he doesn't own 150 suits. He asked, at any given time, how many suits can you wear? Can you wear 2? In one sitting? You can only wear 1. Only 1 suit at any given time. Even if you step out and change to it, but you can only wear 1. So he asked, what's the need of even 50? If you can only wear 1 at any given sitting. And what stood out for me there is, I'm a woman, right? Let me clarify that. In the era of LGBT and all that. So as a woman, it depends with what you love most. I have a taste for shoes, for sure. And a lot of ladies and women can agree with me. You have quite a number of pairs, especially the hawkers. And if you pass through CBD, they always line up those nice shoes, As you walk, you're like, hey, this one looks nice. Sita ipata. How much is it? 200 or 300 or 500. You bargain. Okay, I'm just giving. You bargain. For me, I bargain. Even if you see me, I bargain. So when you bargain, 400. But had you budgeted for the 400? No. But for you, because you have the money, you think, it's just 400. Right? You walk again, you find a nice trouser or a nice top. How much is it? 100 bob. Those ones for bow, 50-50, so those ones, And you're like, it's just 50 bob or 100 and it looks very nice. And you decide, for 200 I can get 4. So how much have you used so far? 600, right? Why? Because you have the money in your pouch. And why are you spending it? Why are you spending it? Because you don't have a budget. Why? Because you're saying, at the end of the month, let me put in a category of an employee, my salary will come, right? And it will take care of all other things. And the cycle continues. And we have those ones, I have to mention, and don't get me wrong, all online. You have a boyfriend, you have your dad, you have the male friend zoned, right? And all of them are your source of men. Say hoy! Yeah? So, sijui nimekwama, so nitumie so moja. Sijui what has happened. Let me tell you, as an adult, and please wake up to this, nobody should finance your lifestyle. Married or not married. You get me right? Nobody should finance your lifestyle. You need to sit down and have a budget, track your expenses, and guess what? Your wealth is in your expenses. Stop saying so-and-so has become so wealthy, they're doing well, and it's because they decided they have a financial plan. Probably when they got their first job, which was paying 5,000 shillings, they decided to sit down and come up with a plan. And as I repeat again, there is no money that is little. Even that 5,000 that you think is too little for you to be paid for, It is not. Have an ABC budget. Most of the times you have a budget, but it's not ABC. Because you have to have the most important, your rent, electricity, water, the fixed expenses that you cannot keep away from. Those are your class A. Then you have your B. Probably, you have this airtime. When you look at the people you call, is it really necessary to have 1,000 or 500? You have to really categorize. And your data bundles, okay? Then you have the cable TV. Let me be very Kenyan. There is Netflix and Showmax, right? And because we all have smartphones, subscription for Showmax and Netflix is, I'm not aware, I don't have, honestly. But it is that amount, 700, it's how much? If you have both, 2,000 per month, cable TV. Oh, wow, okay. I dropped that off, that's why I think I can stand here and say, it's part of the things you sit down and evaluate. So you have that, Netflix and Showmax. Of course, for watching your documentaries and your series, which make you not sleep the whole night because the series was very awesome. Yeah, the series was, in fact, some of you could do 48 hours straight shift watching a series. But if you're told, wake up and go to Gikomba, get some few things, come and probably sell to your friends, Aibana, 5 a.m., 4 a.m., nijikute Gikomba, nikidu. Have you just heard that? Nikidu? Can I surprise you? Most of the time when you tell somebody start something, they always ask you, where is the money? Right? Where is the? And I hear people say there is no jobs. Is this what King Ori have said? There is very high unemployment in Kenya. Graduates are even picking placards in traffic, of course with their qualifications, to see if they can get somebody who can consider them. Can I surprise you? The jobs are there. Opportunities are plenty. Ask yourself, why the Chinese? Why are the Western worlds always talking about Kenya? What are they seeing that you're not seeing? What is this that they're seeing, but you're not seeing? Because there are no jobs. Because I'm a graduate, I have a master's. I have professional courses, I need this particular job that gives me 200, 300,000. That's the only thing I can take. Anything below that, I don't do it. Why? So you stay at home. You're lucky. Your parents stay in Nairobi. Mine don't. So I had to learn the hard way. Your parents stay in Nairobi, so you stay at home because you don't pay electricity, you don't pay water. You wake up at 11 a.m. Have you just heard what I've said? 11 a.m. Comfortably walking to the kitchen with your Crocs and your socks. And looking what is there for breakfast. And when you find there is nothing for breakfast, you call your mom. Mom, there are no eggs. There is no milk for breakfast. Did you guys decide to carry everything to work? You're so entitled. Because you're a graduate, but there are no jobs. You're still looking out, right? And I'm trying these online jobs, they're not working. You have all this this is where living abundantly comes in. Sorry, I'll talk about everything incorporated in whatever I'm saying. You can actually wake up. It doesn't matter, you don't have to be a graduate. Let me even address the Form 4 leavers also. Very important. You're a Form 4, you're 18 years old with an ID, national ID card. You're eligible to get an activity to generate you income. So, you can actually work. In fact, if you're fortunate enough, if you're still staying in your parents' house, you can wash those cars. Why do they take their cars to car wash? Why should they not give you that money that they take to the car wash? In fact, if there's one thing that my parents implanted into our lives is washing a car. Since we were in primary school, as we started in primary, and we never used to be paid. You only paid when they are in a good mood. You're given a 20 bob, you've done a good job. Yeah. Then there was piggy banks. So you put it in the piggy bank, right? You remember the piggy bank, the jumbo account and something? But now there are people who get even those containers, you put in, you close it. Yeah, you put it there. But other kids will rush to the shop and buy what? Cookies, sweets, mandazi, chipo. You know, what they look forward to. But that's what they know. But a child who has been taught by a parent will know that, as you've heard Warren Buffett said, even 11 years was too late. And people laughed. Hey, and me, it's never too late. Okay? So don't get worried even if you're 40 seated here. Please don't get worried and don't panic. All you need now to have in place is a financial plan. Yes. So what happens is you can also have it in place when you're young and calamity can happen also, right? You can be a very good saver, probably not aware of the various investment vehicles, and something can happen and you lose it all. Pick it up. It is worrying for me when I see stories of young people committing suicide because of financial distress. It's very, very worrying. What I would want to tell them kindly, money is not what defines you. It is how you manage it that defines you. And when you read in this book of Psychology of Money, there was a janitor. A janitor. All of you know what a janitor is. And this janitor, you can imagine what a janitor earns. Saved by the time he was dying, I think around 80-something, the guy had millions of dollars in his account. A janitor. So nobody is unable to save. It's all about a financial plan. So come up with a plan, 1-year plan, 2-year plan, and always evaluate after every 6 months. Don't wait until 1 year is over. Every 6 months, sit down, evaluate yourself. How far are you? And start small, 100 shillings, 50 shillings. I remember there was something circulating some years back before COVID of the 52-week savings plan. 50 bob, it goes. But another thing I can tell you, even with the saving, there's something called compounding. The 8th wonder of the world. I call it the 8th wonder of the world. Compounding. Because compounding does magic. Let me give you an example of my life. So, of course you save and people plan for your money. I can promise you. From family to friends to acquaintances, everybody will always plan for your money if you don't plan for it. And that's why you hear that you call your mother calls you, your sister calls you, there's an emergency, please send 5,000 shillings, send 1,000 shillings, send 50, send 500. Sometimes when they ask for even that 5,000, you tell them, I have 1,000, to my ear. But was it in your plan? Was it in your plan? So what you need to have is an ABC budget, as I've categorized it, given examples. And also in that budget, have a percentage of proportion for giving, kupatiana, so that if those matanga, wedding, and whatever comes up, you pick it from there. But trust you me, if your limit is, for example, is 10,000, when it blows, even when somebody calls you and tells you this has happened, I don't have, because you have monies budgeted for the various expenses. Track your expenses. Oh, it is the amazing magic of everything. You'll actually realize you've been buying things unnecessarily. You remember the shoes and the 4 tops that you keep on buying? And some of them you'll never wear, right? You'll never wear them. They're just for your closet to admire. Sit down and ask yourself, do you need 15 pairs of shoes? Do you need a whole shoe rack for you to always admire and know what shoe to wear? No. Do you need 70 dresses? Do you need 15 coats? So it's for you to ask yourself those questions. Track your expenses, have an ABC budget, but above all, when that income comes, do you know what you do, number 1? Pay yourself first, okay? A portion, a percentage, a certain, and when I started actually during Centonomy, it was a bit difficult, to be honest, because of debts, you know, how those debts that cripple in. But when you learn to have a debt management schedule, like in terms of how will I repay my debt, and how it starts. Siku hizi iko Mshwari, KCB, Mpesa, Tala, I don't know, what others are there? Those ones, you know them, eh? Very expensive. Have you heard what I've said? Very expensive. Especially for consumption purposes. What has it happened? You've seen this nice shoe, you didn't have money, and then you decide, oh, Mshwari sent me a message. We have increased your limit to 10,000 shillings. Ah, Wachira, it's in the end of the month. It's near the end of the month. They've given me 30 days. Let me borrow. 9-point-something%. After you blow that, Timiza has sent you a message. You have a limit of 15,000. You go to Timiza, unakuwa chua. KCB Mpesa, you have a limit of 70,000. Bas. And remember, you also have a credit card. Let me tell you, what my takeaway message, have credit for an income generating activity. Anything consumption, not necessary. Only for me to mention, allow me to just finish up with this and say that less ego, more wealth. Less ego, more wealth. And ego cuts across women and men. Who said this? Less ego, more wealth, saving and investing money is the gap between your ego and your income. Okay? So if you have ego, you have to show your friends you have the latest shoe, you have the latest Porsche Cayenne, you've bought the latest G Mercedes for everyone to see, and the number plate is KDM, right? But it's on debt. And everybody else is like, so-and-so is doing well. But are you aware how they got it? No. You don't know. What you need to know is that less ego, more wealth, and saving and investing money is the gap between your ego and your income. And wealth is what you do not see. Wealth is what you do not see by Morgan Housel. He says that wealth is something that you do not see. It lies in your expenses. But if you cut down those expenses, save that amount of money in an investment vehicle, which is compounding, you'll be happy. Can I surprise you? You can actually go online on the CBK website and get a DOE CDS account. You don't need to go to a bank. Just open it. It's free. Free. Like free kabisa. You open that CSD and you now start aiming. One of your goals in your financial plan is, I need to get 50,000 to buy a treasury bond. Have you heard what King Oria said? There was an infrastructure bond, tax-free. You are crying about taxes, right? The bread is taxed, motor vehicle is taxed, everything is taxed. But there's something tax-free, 50,000. Whatever duration is indicated, when you get that interest, which the government pays out after 6 months, then after the next 6 months, please don't eat that money. Ikiingia kwanza December, you want to do shopping, You feel like you want to go to Mombasa with SGR, please don't. Put it back in an MMF, okay? Which will compound. You will be surprised, the magic that it will happen for the duration that they have mentioned. So my last takeaway messages, as I said, my story can be very long, but let me give you takeaway messages because of time. Have an ABC budget. Go sit down, have a budget. It might look tiring right now, but trust you me, today is 18th May. Please evaluate yourself in November, before December. You will actually see how much you have saved. Pay yourself first. Always track your expenses, either with a phone app or a book. For me, to be honest, I work with a notebook. Yes, technology, I have an app, but sometimes you're busy paying and walking out. But when I get wherever I'm going, I'll sit down, even that 5 bob. You see that 5 bob? Even that one you pay, guys, for parking and everything. Please write it down. Because 5 bob, you calculate it with the number of days in a year that you give it out, you'll be surprised. It's over 1,000 sometimes. Have a debt plan. Please pay up those M-Shwaris, KCB, Mpesas, and all those, and credit cards. Please pay them up. They are very expensive. It's what eats up into your income. Because the minute you get it, you have to pay it so that you get another one, right? You want it to make it a cycle. You want to make it, kill that cycle. Live below. I'll not say live within your means. I'll say live below your means. And it is possible. Even with the 20,000, even with the 10,000, you can actually do it. Diversify your investment portfolios. Get all those vehicles, MMF, T-bonds, T-bills. Now there are new products, Mansa X, TradeSense, and the likes. Please, before you invest in anything, do your due diligence. Find out, is it regulated? If it's not regulated, please don't venture there and then start saying, oh, these people. I see a lot of complaints on social media about certain vehicles. And I'm like, did you do your due diligence? No. Because so-and-so came and told you, you just decided. No, 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 no. Don't work out of emotions. When investing, don't act with emotions. Emotions do not play a part in investing. You have to be very, very firm and don't act out of emotions. Protect your investments. Insurance is very important. And let me emphasize, imichango ya matanga, please guys, get a last expense cover. It is so cheap. In fact, annually, not even monthly, you can get one for, is it 2,000? 2,000 shillings. They have various categories. Just shop around. The best thing you can do, shop around. Go to the various insurance companies and banks, now because they have become bank assurance, shop for that last expense. Those matangas eat into your income. Because everybody has a matanga. Your friend, your who, your auntie, your who. Always be very careful. Those matangas, if you do the mathematics, you'll be surprised. You'll actually realize that they ate up your 20,000. Just contributing 500, 1,000 like that. Medical insurance, even if you don't have a constant source of income, please, please, shop for an inpatient cover. Not even outpatient, inpatient. That's what eats up into your income. Because even if you had savings and you are a perfect investor, if you didn't have a medical cover and some illness strikes, like now we have a lot of cancer going around, and those non-communicable diseases, it will eat up all your investments. Please, please take it seriously. An inpatient cover is very... Don't go for the very expensive premiums. Sometimes, I don't know if insurance has the chama ones. You like form a group of 10 to 15 people, then you approach an insurance firm to give you a tailor-made medical insurance cover. Please consider that. If you are in some group of friends and chamas and whatever groups you are in, apart, and always know, even if you're employed, and you have a medical cover, always cushion yourself. So that when insurance, the employment is over, either redundancy, retrenchment comes in, you still are covered with some medical insurance cover. With some, even the family, in your family. You can maybe converge in your family, depending on your age groups, if they are allowing. Get a group medical cover as a family. But we insist. What we taught in Centonomy, inpatient cover is very critical. That's what eats up. Even when you're a very good investor, it will clear up all your investments. You will dispose of all those investments just to try and pay up for your medical bills. Leave a generational plan. We've been told, get a will. Get a will, guys. Yeah, you might think you are young, but get a will. Put your house in order. And also, as you create your wealth, consider also the aspect of trusts, which also creates generational, flows over to the generations. And with that, I think I will give back to Mr. Waithaka. Thanks so much for Centonomy. Small loans, hakuna.
Very good. Guys, let's give Mirriam a hand. Thank you so much. One more time for Mirriam. Thank you so much. I understand what you're going through, Mirriam. She's trying to condense 12 weeks of learning into this moment, and it's difficult. I just want to say one thing. Because today we're talking about actions that you're going to take, right? And if we discuss an action, it has to be in line with an outcome. So when Mirriam kept on going back and saying, it's not just spending today. So life is for living. Let's be clear. So you don't live only in the future, but you also don't only live in the present. So you have to find a balance. So why am I saving this month? Because in December, by the grace of God, I want to be on a beach with my family. Do you see the choice that you have made? I'm not spending this because I want an outcome that is coming shortly. So it's never just saving for the sake of saving. If you don't have an outcome, it's boring and it doesn't make sense. So I want you to set it as a goal. Even going on holiday begins to matter to you. That car that she was describing, the issue with the car is not the car. In fact, if you come into a Centonomy class, we never tell you don't buy this, don't do this. No. It's why are you doing this and what is the overall effect? Because you don't just have one goal in life. When you're young, I know it sounds like you have one goal, but you don't have one goal just to buy a car. You want to buy a car that allows you to travel, isn't it? You don't just buy a car to look at it and say, ooh, nice car. No, you buy it so that you can get in and go. You have money for fuel and to move. So that we don't just come into the class talk about saving and investing for the future. It's also about how do you manage your money now to live abundantly when? Now. That's what the goal is. And so we have to have that discussion even as we go forward. I wanted to say this, even as I invite our next speaker, as we come towards the end of the program for today. I wanted you to understand this. What Mirriam mentioned here is the second rule I wanted you to write down. Remember, the first one was pay yourself first. Secondly, track your expenses, not just for the sake of being boring and tracking your expenses. It's so that it gives you power to make choices. Here's your assignment, and you can start doing it right now. Here in Kenya, we use our Mpesa app quite a lot. Or you may use your banking apps like the one that we discussed here. While we're having this discussion, just open on your phone the Mpesa messages that you receive. Just open them. No, open them. No, stop shaking your head. Open them. I want you to open and have a look and just add up the transaction costs for 1 week. Here's what gives you a perspective. If you spend 500 shillings a week, all right? Somebody now needs to open up their calculator for me. 500 shillings a week on transaction costs, not even what you sent, what you received. 500 per week, 52 weeks in a year. How much is that? 52 times 500 is how much? 26,000 shillings. You can buy a plot. And that's only on 500 bob a week. Many of us in this room and those watching online, you're at more than that amount. And so we have to begin to take control of our finances if we're going to get to the results that we want. You see here in the Centonomy 101 program, and this is what I want you to begin to get in your mind. It is for 12 weeks. Listen to me carefully. 12 weeks, but you only come for class once a week. So we have classes that are available on Wednesday, during the week, at 6 p.m., between 6 p.m. and 8:30 p.m., and on Saturday at a time like this is East African time, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. During the week, and 9 a.m. to 11:30 on Saturdays. So it is the same class that runs throughout the week. Why? Because we know you're busy. We know that sometimes you just can't make it during the week. So if you can't make it on the Tuesday or the Wednesday class that's running, you come in on Saturday. If you know you're going for a forum like this, or there's a wedding happening on Saturday, you come in during the same week and you'll be able to attend the class. This is the one that I have to repeat so that, and you have to say it back to me. All the classes are online. Say it again. All the classes are online. One more time. All the classes are online. What does that mean? Even when you travel, you can log in. Wherever you are in the world, you'll be in class with students who are across the world. We've been training people, Australia, Japan. In fact, now we have, the only place that we didn't have until last year was South America, and now we have had students in South America who have actually attended. And what that gives you is a global perspective. So here's what I want you to understand. Take that action of registering today. You have got a discount today of 1,000 shillings off your registration. Registration is usually 1,500 shillings. But for today, because you have shown up either online or in this room, you have an opportunity to register at 500. It's one of those small steps, you know, those small steps that makes a big difference. Why? Because when you register, now there's a bit of pressure in your life. This is what usually happens. People come and say, you know, I'm not ready. You know, I'm not ready now. When will you be ready? Guess what? If you don't register now, by the time you're coming in for the next class, because the next class is happening, there'll be more taxes that have arrived and inflation will have kicked in, and I cannot promise the price of the program. And here's what happens. When you make a move in the direction of your goals, you begin to find solutions. Here's the thing. If today you received a scholarship to go to a prestigious university in the world, and all you had to do is raise the amount for the air ticket, would you find that money? Yeah. What would you do to get there? You call who? Relatives. You call friends. You do something to get the cash. So when you make a move of that kind, it begins to cause you to make choices. I'm going to hear from many people because we've had a lot of university students in that class, and they say, I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I registered with the 500 I had, and then I went and talked to my parents. You know that soft life we were talking about. And if you talk to your parents about an opportunity to go for financial literacy, imagine they'll support you. But there's this idea of I will come later, and I'll discuss that in a couple of moments. So I want you to take that opportunity to register now. And here's the thing. The registration is 500 shillings today, but the total fee for the program over a 3-month period is 48,000 shillings. What does that mean? In month 1, all you need is 17,000. In month 2, 17,000. In month 3, 14,000. So you can pay on a monthly basis. So you don't have to come with the total amount up front. You can pay monthly as you go through the program. You just pay 17,000 as you come into the class, 17,000 after 4 weeks, and another 14,000 after that period of time. So I'm going to challenge you now. What are you waiting for? What's the excuse that you're going to give? I'm too busy. Guess what? You'll be busy later. There'll be something else that comes up. Hey, what other financial things will come onto your plate as you go along, and then you'll say, okay, I'll go again and I'll go again. When will you make that choice? The time is now. So how do you register? Those who are in this room, you can use the Mpesa Paybill number, 986850, and it's only 500 shillings. If you have cash, you can be able to register out at the door there. You can be able to do that. And once you've made the Mpesa payment, just put your first name and the word and the letters, the numbers 101, so we know which program you're coming for. So for example, Jane 101, so we know, and we will reach out to you with all the details of the class. We'll send you an orientation pack. All these things that we've been discussing, you will receive. All the programs that we've been going through, and you'll be able to get into that. So make that choice now. For those who are outside of the country, those who are watching online, you can make payments through our bank, and you can be able to take a screenshot of that real quick. Take a screenshot of it right now. You can also use these other opportunities that are there, PayPal and Mpesa Pal, and we'll be able to assist you. So for those who are online, get ready very quickly. Take a screenshot of that very quickly so that you can use that if you prefer to use your bank account. And again, I'll give you another opportunity to do that now as you do this going forward. It is my immense, immense, immense pleasure to invite our next speaker for today. We've been discussing this issue of going from goals to gains, and she said she has something to share with us. Ladies and gentlemen, will you put your hands together for Miss Janet Mbugua as she comes to share her experiences as well. I am ready with my notebook, Janet. I'm very ready. Please do feel free as you're going to share. Karibu sana. One more time for Janet, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Waithaka. Hi, everyone. How are you? I'm going to sit and I'll explain why. It's my fault, not yours. Don't worry. I think I should have planned myself better this weekend. I had an event that ended very late last night, and I'm tired. So I want to make sure I give you as much energy while just thinking about my choices and decisions. Because Waithaka and Centonomy reached out to me very early in the year. So it's one of those things where it's like, it's not you, it's me. I'm so happy to see all of you. Thank you, Centonomy. Thank you to Mirriam and Kingori as well. And thank you guys so much for being here. I love seeing people coming to want to learn, to thrive. And I feel like I look in the room and I even look at sometimes my online community, and I just see a group of people who I feel are going to shift this country and make a lot of changes because you're leaning into self-awareness and wanting to do better. So for that, in fact, just clap for yourselves. It's a big deal. In the spirit of not having planned myself properly, I will try and keep my remarks as short and sweet as possible. And years ago, I think it was 2 years ago when Centonomy first asked me to come and speak, I feel like I'm such a different person now. Even then I was nervous. I'm like, what am I going to tell people? And so today I want to lead from a very real place. We've heard about finance, we've heard about planning. I want to lead with feelings. Don't leave. Don't hear feelings and then guys are like, Nimenda. And in the spirit of feelings, turn to your neighbor and ask them, how is your heart?
Is your heart okay? First of all, do...
Msiogope.
Thank you so much, man.
Guys are like, how is your heart? Fine. Okay. Don't make me say anything. I do a video series every Sunday, and I'll come to that, but I do tend to, I lead with that aspect and come out on the other side, but let me explain why. I think about 3 ways in which I believe what I'm guided by in my life. And those 3, they may evolve, they may stay the same, I might rename them, but it's faith, family, focus. And I'll explain why. And I'll explain why that's my reality and why it's rooted even in some of what my fellow speakers have said. Faith. My relationship in my faith is ever evolving. But in 2022, I feel like I had a very interesting faith encounter. I was not in the best place in my life in 2022, if I'm to be honest. I'm in my vulnerable era, so I'll come out with some things. I was in a really, really bad place personally. Literally even struggling to come out of bed, right? I'd gone through a lot of personal challenges. I feel like my life, character development, let's just summarize it the way we know it as Kenyans. And it caught me by surprise, and I feel like it was a punch in the gut, and I feel like I kept going through one punch after another. And I remember 2022, something really interesting happened. I got off a phone call that was extremely triggering. I actually realized this person had never really meant well, or they were not even the safe space I thought they were. And I heard a voice, which I believe is God's, saying something that I never thought it would say. It just told me, go to Karura. And I'd never gone to Karura for a walk. That wasn't me. So it took me by surprise when a very quiet voice said, take your kids, I just picked my sons from school, and meet me in Karura. So I said, I'll just follow this voice because it sounds like it's coming from a good place. So I put on my sneakers, told the boys, let's go. They're like, where? Adventure, yay! So we went. And as we were walking, the same voice seemed to say to me, you've given so much power to people around you. You've allowed them to take. You've allowed them, you've almost given them, you've almost put your life in their hands. And you can't do that. Yes, you can trust people. Yes, you can have a support system. You can love them, but don't give them all your power. And the same voice kind of said, give it to me, and then let me just show you how to navigate. And I feel like that moment quite literally changed my life. I'm glad I listened to it. Like I said, I don't know. I know people are of different faiths and beliefs, but from that day, I started to rethink and reevaluate everything in my life very, very, very slowly. And when I go to family, I started having conversations with myself. I tell people I have AGMs with myself. And it was like, what do you believe in? What are your goals? What's your purpose? Even though I'd run a foundation for many years, Inua Dada, even though I'd been a journalist and a media personality and content creator for many years, I wanted to start from scratch to say, who are you actually? What do you believe in? Are you being fed something that you want to put out? Is this coming from a real place? Is it in your mind? And then I started to slowly rebuild. I have never been so patient with myself because I love adrenaline. First of all, I was working when I was 19. So all I've ever known is work. I love my work. I don't use it as an escape, but that's what, in many ways, I felt defined me. I have since kind of negotiated that as well. So suddenly I was forced to slow down because I was dealing with trauma, and I was dealing with insecurities, and I was dealing with shame and with guilt and with all these things, and I still had to show up and moderate. Whether it's in Kenya, whether it was in New York, I had to show up, and after a while it became difficult to have two different personas. I told myself, you're going to have to integrate even everything you've dealt with. You're going to have to find a way to make peace with it. And when you go into a room and when you go on stage, you'll be speaking from a place of honesty, whether or not it's to do with finance, whether or not it's to do with career, you'll be speaking from a point of truth. So after that, I talked about family. Family, keeps me rooted. And then focus. Focus is where I talk about the work and the planning and the goals and the purpose. Let me open my notes because now... So when I say family, I also had to ask myself, how are you going to parent differently? How are you going to be a different friend or sister or daughter? And I talk about family because for me, it's important to have a community around me. And so I had to also rethink the people that I'm letting into my life and rethink how I'm speaking to my sons, and then focus. From that rooting of faith and family, I was able to establish, okay, so then what is the goal and the purpose while rooted in the values that you believe in? Some of this sounds very kumbaya. And if you had told me this 4 years ago, I would have just thought you're speaking some different language. But I think it was Kingori who mentioned, and maybe I might remix some of what you've said, so please forgive me. But you talked about the core, right? You talked about you and your family, and maybe you and your people around you, and maybe you were talking about it from a point of finance and planning, but I think what we're trying to tell you is even when you're going to apply for Centonomy, which by the way, I strongly recommend you do, I don't think I've ever seen a more consistent, empathetic, broad program that can quite literally shift how you look at money, how you look at yourself. So please, please, please register. But it has to be rooted in, how do you see yourself? How do you see yourself? What's your truth? What's the truth that you know about yourself, and what's the truth that people make you think is your truth? Again, I know sometimes this sounds very kumbaya, very like, okay, Janet, what's the point of all this? If you don't know who you are, and sometimes it's not easy to look at ourselves. Sometimes it's not easy to have those conversations. And so be very kind to yourself when you're doing it, because we are all a work in progress. But do yourself a favor and ask yourself that question, because from that is literally the only way you can begin to build forward, even through your financial gain and your financial planning. You cannot pour from an empty cup. So you have to begin to find ways. Even if it means pausing, you are going to go for drinks with your friends later. Take the evening and have a meeting with yourself. A nice one. By the usijisome sana. Just be like, let's spend an hour thinking through and reevaluating what my values are, what I believe in. Why do I want money? Why? What do I want to do with it for me and for people? What? Okay, and then what? And then what? And then how? If you were going to go, I think what I'm trying to say is just find a moment to have a conversation with yourself. Because if you skip that part, you will find yourself right. That was me in 2022. So I told you I started working at 19. I did KTN, South Africa, Citizen, Content Global. 2022, I had to now be like, okay, you avoided it for so long. Now you need to. And if I can be very honest, I feel like I'm living the best years of my life. Because I've been honest with myself about what traits I need to reevaluate, about what habits that I need to give up, about how to show up as a leader of the foundation that I run, as a parent, as a content creator. I tried to figure out content for the longest time, and now I lead from a place of honesty, and in return, people are coming on board to collaborate. Not because that was the point, but because I went back to basics. Going back to basics should not scare you. It doesn't mean you'll have to take 2 years, 1 year. It just means you're saying, okay, I want to register for Centonomy, but what exactly do I believe in? Who am I and where do I want to be? And because of doing that, financially, how did it affect me? Financially, I used to be a bit all over the place. I started working at 19. I was just like, yes. I was not the best saver. I was living with my aunt, because I live in Mombasa. I come from Mombasa. So I was staying with my aunt in Nairobi. So imagine having all that freedom plus money at 19. By God's grace, I'm still here, by the way, because it could have gone left. I had that at 19. And I worked really hard for it. I begged for a job for 1 year. I'm that person. I really go for what I want. I don't believe in, even now as Janet, I don't believe in pushing my way through because of my name. I believe in saying, what do I bring to the table? You know, why me and not somebody else? I still, to date, do not show up with an entitlement of, but it's me. The difference now is that I really tell people about value. If somebody says, we need you for this event and we're giving you 10 shillings, I won't say no because, how dare you give me 10 shillings? I'll say, no, you'll give me 50 shillings because of what I bring to the table. But that came from a place of finding out who I am and what I stand for. And I take the time to explain to them, you want to give me 50 shillings? I'm coming to your event. I'm not just going to MC and moderate. I'm going to amplify on social media. I'm going to do cross-posting. And I'll do that because it's the value that I add. So can we talk a little bit more about why you need to give me 50 shillings and not 10? And 80% of the time, we have renegotiated. And I'm not doing it from a place of clout. I'm not doing it from a place of ego. I'm doing it from a place of I know what I can do. And sometimes it's I know what I can't do. I'll recommend someone. They'll say, oh, we have this thing on agriculture, trade, and investment. I'm like, that sounds really dope, but I know someone else who can do it better. And I'll do that. With the foundation, Inua Dada, it is the trenches trying to run a foundation. Please, if you're going to register anything, do a lot of homework. Do a lot of asking. People think it's a fun, trendy thing to do. Running a foundation is a way of, it literally means that you're selflessly, constantly trying to find ways to be selfless. Development, which is essentially the career I'm in. I never thought you could do a career in development. And development is essentially the NGO world, advocacy, activism. Before you make a case for what you want to do, a lot of the time you can go broke. And I didn't know so many things. I just kept going with my feelings. I feel like this is the right thing to do. Oh yeah, even these guys, we also need to do something for them. And then over time, after reevaluating, after my 2022 moment, I started to build a case for what I do. And right now, when I leave here, we're actually going to reintroduce and record new episodes of My First Time Stories podcast. My First Time is a book I authored a few years ago, which is on storytelling around breaking the stigma on menstrual health. I covered the stories about 65 people, including 10 men. And it's a good book. It's at Textbook Center. We started a podcast that I was hosting. And after reevaluating, I said, I actually don't want to host all these episodes. So now we're going to introduce guest hosts. And then we're going to introduce purely hosted by younger people. I'm like, I want this to be fronted by young people. Next month, we're rolling out something in campuses. Unfortunately, we can't do in all the campuses. I really, really want to eventually, because it's about equipping people with skills on advocacy, digital advocacy, wellness, training, basically raising a new generation of champions and change makers. Again, 5 years ago, I would have wanted to do that in a very different way that maybe would have cost a lot of money. Now, we found a way to very cleverly put aside funds and grants for trainers, student facilitation for transport, and all of that is to say, because of thinking through how to use what we have, it's allowed us to begin to create bigger impact by not necessarily going out of pocket. I couldn't do that before. Now I am. I've had to hire people, and a lot of the people I've hired, the 2 years, I truly thank God for the team I have. They're solid. It's a very interesting mix of Gen Z and older men, with me somewhere in the middle. And I've given them the agency to say, you know what, you can do this. They're there right now. I'm like, start without me. I could not have done that and still had bandwidth to then, next weekend, moderate a session for Africa Development Bank. I had to learn to say, where can you afford to step back? Where can you afford to believe in the team around you? How do you make sure you're looking after them so that even if you cannot pay them beyond, you're having a conversation about saying, this is where we are now. This is where we want to go. And that's the way they've stayed with me for 2 years. 2 years ago, we didn't have a single grant. Today, we have 2. Doesn't mean we don't need more money. If there's any banks in the house, I will leave my number somewhere. King Ori, I'm coming to you very soon. It means we were able to look at the goal together. We were like, it's 2022. I quit every job I had in 2022. I know that's a privilege, but I had to do it because of where I was. And I said, I'm going to pour into the foundation, and I'm going to pour into having the right team, but I don't have enough money. So we sat and I said, this is where we are. This is where we want to go. Can we give ourselves 2 years? If we're not there by then, please just resign. It's okay, I'll understand. I had a very honest conversation with them. And then we started to build and build and build. We started to have the courage to apply for grants, started to see the results coming. The grants were small. I know all money is good money. Waithaka and Centonomy, I don't want you guys to. But it wasn't, it was so small, and we were like, what can we do with this? How are we going to do payroll, pay the social workers, work with our beneficiaries, make pads, sell pads? We started with 3 people. Then we kept going. Another grant came. It was still small. Now the programs are growing, but the money is still small. And then we started to find a rhythm. We started to see where we could afford to put some aside, even for operations, even for programs and overheads and whatever. And now, with the same team that I spoke to in 2022, they've actually begun to see, they were actually like, oh, Kumpe, you had a plan. I'm like, I don't know that I had one. I just had courage, and I had a gut feeling. And that's the difference between just waking up and starting something and starting or having the conversation of, what's your deal? Okay, how do you need to get there? Okay, why? Okay, how? And then what happens when things go left? Because they do. What's your backup plan? And in all this, I'm sitting here not trying to say I've figured it out. I'm saying I've literally seen the goals to gains come together because I chose to start with the root cause of why do you want to do this? You could be influencing swimwear in Diani, living the best life on a yacht, but you've chosen to lead with purpose in a field that takes more than it gives. Even with giving, still having people who may not necessarily be grateful. But that was my truth. Maybe it's my background in journalism that made me always want to lead with social impact. It's never left me. And you can't do social impact for money. There's so many people who start and they give up after 2 years because it is the trenches. You have to lead with your purpose. And your purpose, with common sense and values and a community and 1 or 2 mentors, will begin to shape you into where you need to go. And guys, sometimes it's long game. Please be very gentle with yourself. Please be patient. It's not the best thing to hear in a financial literacy open day, but the patience and perseverance in saying, my friends are going out nonstop. They've gone to Naivasha for the weekend, wherever. I'm here having to save money. It's very frustrating. I promise you, you'll come back here next time and say, thank goodness I made that decision. 2013, when I had just started working in Citizen, I'd been there 2 years, my dad calls and says, there's this piece of land that I think you should buy. I'm like, with what money? He's like, I guess with the money you're making. I'm like, but it's not enough. So he asked me, do you have a family? I said, no. Okay. So what do you need that money for? Then I was quiet. Then he said, for clothes and shoes and food. I'm like, yeah, maybe. He's like, okay, do this. For 6 months, do you need clothes? Do you need to buy any multiple new outfits? Do you need to eat out every week? So for 6 months, I watched people have fun and go out, even go for these events that the anchors were going to. And I'd be like, really, Dad? He said, yes. My dad, by the way, from the time I think I was 18, he's always been about fend for yourself, figure it out. So I've had no choice. And then my mom says, it's what Dad said, Sio Mimi. So I did that for 6 months. And I ended up saving a certain amount every month. Actually, I think it was for 8 months. And at that time, gosh, that was 11 years ago, to buy a piece of land in Elementaita, because at the time it was going for a really good deal through a very legit source. And he said, did you die? After not going out and all those things for 6 to 8 months. I'm like, no. He's like, you're still here. And then I started getting the muscle to be doing that. So it's literally about, sometimes it's about sacrifice. I feel like I'm saying things I used to hear 10 years ago and be so irritated, but I've lived it now. There are some sacrifices that are worth making. If it's for the long game, make them now. 6 months, 3 months, it sounds like a long time. It flies by. It's 11 years now. And the other time when I started the same thing, it was for my sons. I started being like, how can I do this for Huru and Mali? To begin to see maybe just how they can have something to start with when they're old enough. You think because I'm doing all this work, I had the money to just be like, here, take my money and buy land. Nope. It was the same thing. It was last year. So it was 2020, it was last year. So I was like, wow, another 8 months of the trenches. And I did. And now they have title deeds in their name. Yeah, so it's, even if you see people who are on platforms, who are speakers, media people, athletes, even our colleagues here who've spoken, I think it's important to note that most of the time the journeys that are most sustainable are rooted in what's the long game, not in what I can get now. And I know we live in that generation where everything is quick, 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 quick. Some things will come quickly, sawa. Most of the time, it'll take you back to square one. Even people who are overnight sensations, at some point it caught up with them. They had to go back to the drawing board. I don't know why the first name that comes to mind is Justin Bieber. He's a good example. Because he became this massive sensation overnight on YouTube when he was like 13. Then 10 years later, he hit a black spot. He was depressed, he was on drugs, he was, throwing tantrums. He needed guidance. And thankfully for him, he found it. He leaned into a community that will help him. There's other examples at home. I can't say them because they might come for me. I'm not trying to be in people's diss tracks, you guys. I'm just not trying to be there. And it doesn't mean it just because he's a singer and rapper, it can't happen to you. So it can be tempting if you have a quick thing that somehow gets you to the next step. Hold on to it, be proud of it. Lean into the long term, lean into the long game. Compromise a little bit, sacrifice a bit. Build a community. Build faith in yourself. All of you are here because you deserve to be here, because you belong here. All of you are important. I need to validate you, because the world is not good at validating people nowadays. The world likes to break men and women, young men and women. You belong here, you deserve to be here. You are somebody. Please start by having the conversation with yourself, rooting it in kindness and empathy, that even if there's things you've done wrong, people who need to apologize or you need to apologize to, baby steps. There's a time I went on what I called a sorry tour. I'm so sorry I projected on you. I'm so sorry I said that, I didn't mean to. And then waiting to see whether or not they'll want to continue the relationship or not. Best decision I made was going back to the drawing board in 2022 to be where I am today, growing the foundation. It's still a very scary journey, but I thank God we've made strides. Speaking on stages I never imagined I would have. Not because I'm better than anyone, but I truly believe it's because of what I'm rooted in. That when they call me, they see she's consistent, she's disciplined, she'll show up, she'll do her work. Before I would take some of those things slightly for granted, now I don't even try. I'm like, you want me to come? Sure. Sometimes it's a very big and scary ask. I go back to the root. Why are you doing this? See, this is linked to your purpose. I go. I've spoken a lot. I hope I've made sense. It's about rooting it in what you believe in. It's about compromising for a season, not forever. It's about having the ability to evolve when you need to forgive yourself when you need to extend empathy when you need to hold yourself accountable when you need to. I know nobody wants to hear that. It is the truth. And then saying, okay, let's just do this again. You've got this. Yeah, you kind of messed up there. Okay, there you probably made a few mistakes, even with investments. Okay, there you were coming from a place of projection. You'll begin to see something shift. Start with registering for Centonomy. As you're doing that, please do this other groundwork. In fact, this is the best time to do it. As you're doing the course, every week, find time to integrate all of these different things. Before you log on to that Zoom session, hey, I know Waithaka, I've really sold this thing. Name one chapter after me, I'm joking. So when you register with that link, take 15 minutes before you go into the class. 15 minutes, and ask yourself those critical questions. Why am I doing this? What's the long goal? Have I been kind to myself today? What am I upset about? Who upset me? Who did I upset? What can I do about it now? Nothing. Sawa. Let me do the session and figure out what to do about it after. And if you do that in concurrence with the Centonomy every week, you'll come out feeling like there's a more holistic approach to how you can actually get to wealth creation. Wealth creation and financial freedom still comes back to the atomic habits, the tiny, 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 tiny little things you do every day that build into a habit and a routine. Atomic Habits is a good book. It's a good book. It worked for me because it talks about the little molecules that eventually build something. Going on the treadmill for 5 minutes. Going for a walk in Karura for 20 minutes. Spending time for 10 minutes before you need to do something to journal or take a cup of coffee or call the person you love. Build that muscle. Everything is a discipline. What's that muscle memory that you need to start creating? Start creating it today. Today you decided, atomic habit number 1, you came for Centonomy Open Day. So how do you carry a little bit of Centonomy Open Day with you every day? Particles, don't think of a big thing. Tiny, 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 tiny to lead to the big. So again, I'm really proud of you guys for taking this step. Nobody's supposed to sit here and make you feel like, hey, this is a lot of work. It's okay. Choose your hard. One hard is, I'll stay broke. It's hard. Being broke is hard. The other hard is, I'm going to build financial freedom. It is also hard. It's a pinned video on my profile. If you follow me on official Janet Mbugua on Instagram, one of my pinned videos is called Choose Your Hard. That is also something that came to me in 2022. Being broke is hard. Being financially fit is hard. Choose your hard. Going to the gym is hard. Not going and not exercising is hard. Choose your hard. Having a family is hard. Not having one is hard. Choose your hard. I know that sounds broad. Some choices are God has his plans. I'm just talking about the choices that you can make. All of them have a hard. Hard doesn't mean bad. Please never mistake those two. It's just hard. The example I gave in that video was drinking. I stopped drinking in 2021. Not because I had a complete reliance on alcohol. I don't think that was it. I could see where it could take me because of the season I was going into in my life. Because the season I was going into was a difficult one. So on December 26th, on Boxing Day in Mombasa, I had my last drink. And a very chill voice was like, you don't need to drink anymore. And I was like, okay. I chose my hard. I still go out with my friends. I still go for parties. Sometimes I'm the only one who's not drinking. But I still have fun. And I'm not doing this to spite people who drink. Don't come for me. I'm not saying drop it. What is the hard that you will choose? Choose your hard. And when you choose it, evaluate it, lean into it, have a conversation with it, and say, Sawa, see, I've chosen you. See, I've chosen to do Centonomy. It is the hard you've chosen. Msio Gope, by the way, it's a very nice class. You've chosen your hard. In life, everything has a hard. Some of the hard is way better than the other. Financial freedom and wealth is a very good hard to choose. So I say it's hard because you need to build the discipline. It's discipline, guys. Muscle memory, discipline, atomic habits. Don't give former news anchors microphones, Waithaka. You'll be here till 1. I know people are a bit hungry. I need to leave. I need to dash because I am so late. I chose my hard by deciding to go for the premiere of Monkey Business yesterday. It was good though, but I now need to dash to where I need to record. As always, thank you for who you are. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Thank you. And I pray that everything goes well as you do Centonomy. Be kind to yourself. If you miss a class or two because life happened, you can try to make up for it. So thank you so much, everyone. Have an amazing day and an amazing season in your life. And I hope you prosper and have a lot of abundance. You deserve it. Thank you so much.
Wait, just a second. Choose your hard. Being broke is hard, eh? But being wealthy is also a bit tough. Janet, people were begging to ask questions. Up there, somebody, one question for Janet before she takes off. Your chance is going. Raise your hand if you have on that side. There you go. Quickly, quickly, quickly. And we have one more there. And then we have 2 questions online, real quick to respond to. Yeah, it's up there, and this is the one you're going to use.
Thank you very much for that talk, Janet. It's really an... Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Janet, for that talk. It's quite an inspiration. I've got one question. You spoke about knowing your value. For those people who are in employment and you're given an extra responsibility, but there's no extra pay. How do you negotiate for that? Thank you.
Wow. People are clapping for the question. They're like, I can relate. I will quickly try and answer that. And if I don't answer it as well, I know I have these amazing peers of mine who can. How do you negotiate? Everybody brings something to the table. I really want you guys to know that you do. No matter how much you are gaslit, you bring something. If there's one thing that you're sure of, you can say, I'm sure that I can deliver this, but I'm sure it needs some support, resourcing, or somebody. Can we have a conversation about how I can bring this to the table in a better way? I think lead with negotiating from a place of, this can work for all of us. Sometimes negotiating can look like it's for me. Maybe it is, but how does it work for everyone? If your boss is giving you a new assignment and you need to make sure that it does well, but you're like, I can't do this and then the other job you've given me, still be able to do what I need to do in life, for example, I need to be able to be resourced and supported in a way. I think if you begin the negotiation with that, I'm willing to bet, I hope, it plants a seed in somebody to say, let me think about how I can get you the support you need. Again, that's a very blank statement. I have done that in my life, where I went to somebody and said, there's so much more I'm doing. How can you offer support for me to do it to the best of my ability so that it works for all of us? And at the time, Farida Karone, who was my boss, she was good at listening, and she'd be like, let me get back to you in a week. And then she'd come back to you, sometimes maybe not with the answer you fully wanted, but she always found a way to say, listen, for this quarter, maybe do A, B, C, D, and then from next quarter, or in a week's time, I want you to transition in this and this way. Again, I'm answering in a way that I haven't fully thought through it. I hope and I think Waithaka can probably do a better job, but I just need everybody to leave here by knowing that you bring something to the table. Please never leave here thinking I bring that. You do. If you know it deep inside, because everybody has a gift and purpose, start also nurturing that thing. Pole pole too, to a point where you can begin to make a case for it. Yeah. Hi, it's okay, I can hear you. Shoot your shot. Let me tell you. Clap for her, please. This is what we do. Yeah, they'll get your contacts because we're starting with a series of guest hosts, and then hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be able to do like a rotational of different hosts. So we're still in the planning stages, but you can get the contact. I'll pass it on to the production team so that once we're rolling out to fully kind of integrate new hosts, then we can call you in. And we'll also have a process of like interviewing, and we do pay. It's not because we have a lot of money. It's because we understand that the time and energy you're bringing, even if you're 22, 23, 24, 25, needs to be remunerated. So yeah, we'll find a way to make that work.
So do this, just give your contacts at the desk as you're leaving, and we'll put you in contact together. Is that okay? Last question from the wonderful team online. They're asking you, which was the most rewarding hard that you've chosen?
Hey, thank you guys. It's been amazing talking to you. That's me trying to avoid. The most rewarding hard. I think leaving my full-time job as a news anchor, it was scary because people were like, what are you doing? You're leaving when, you're kind of at a place where you can do anything with it. I'm glad I trusted my gut. It doesn't mean I'll never go back to it. I think being a journalist and anchor and social issues commentary person is intrinsically who I am. But in the last 6 years, what it's allowed me to do, how it's allowed me to evolve, even how it's allowed me to break away the walls of, sometimes you're on those pedestals and you're on a constant high and you don't think you can do anything wrong. So I think the reward was actually, no, check yourself while checking around what you need to do, where you need to make compromises. So for me, that was the most rewarding hard, was to take a bet on myself and trying to be gentle with myself as I did it. It's taken a few years, but for sure, that is the most rewarding hard that I chose. I'm not telling people to wake up and be like, I quit. It took me 6 months before I resigned on air. I worked it back 6 months. October 26th is when I made the decision mentally and emotionally. Then on April 17th is when I resigned. So what was I doing in those 6 months? Preparing. Where am I going to get this from? How am I going to look after this? What am I going to do with it? What gigs do I need to take as I build towards streamlining the foundation? I did a lot of planning. You can still stay where you are while you plan. Sometimes people, if it's affecting your mental health, sometimes there's a reason why people just resign. It's there. It's valid. But more often than not, if you can stay a little longer, 4 months, 6 months, a year, 8 months, what are you doing every single day to build towards what you're going to do when you leave? So yes, that's why I chose that hard, because I'd also planned for it.
Guys, put your hands together for Janet Mbugua. Janet, my colleague Joanne there has a special gift for you as you head out. God bless you.
Thank you, Waithaka. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, thank you. Give Janet a hand. I just want to summarize quickly what we've discussed this morning, and I want you to go into this afternoon with this thought. If we're going to move from goals to gains, here's something to think about. Stephen Bartlett wrote that the most convincing sign that someone will achieve the new results in the future is new behavior in the present. So what actions are you going to take today in order to achieve the goals that you have? What does that look like? If you've been receiving the same results with the same mindset, it's because of the same habits. The same habits over and over again will give the same results and same mindset. So we spent time at the beginning of the Centonomy 101 program to discuss your money mindset so that you receive a new mindset. Our mission at Centonomy is to shift mindsets so that purposeful people can create wealth and live abundantly. And so if you have that new mindset, it'll create new habits, and those new habits are the ones that will give you the new results. So what will move you from your goals to your gains? Let's say it all together. Actions. So it's not what you think, not what you plan, it is the actions that are going to move you as you move forward. So actions that align with your goals, let's think about it. It's about taking control now. If you can't take control of your finances today, you will never be able to take control of them. Can I tell you a small secret just so that you understand? We train in some of the biggest organizations across Africa, and we're called in to support senior managers who are earning millions of shillings every month, but they can't manage the millions. They can't. Listen, I assure you, if you've never spent $1 million, Bob, it's so easy. It's easy. If you haven't spent 10 million, it's so easy. 10 million you can spend on one item in a shop. Not even buying land, an item in a shop, 10 million. So if you've never taken control of your 10,000, just because you're earning more doesn't give you the financial freedom. So it's about taking control of your finances when? Now. It's about reviewing the current status now. So part of the program is to help you to review, where am I now? Because if you don't know where you are currently, even if you know your goals, you can't be able to see the direction between where you are and the goals that you have. Next is to set specific targets now. I started off by telling you it's not just any university. It's saying, I want my child to go to this university. What does that do? It changes your mindset. It changes your investment plan, and it changes your actions today because of the target that you have set. And then finally, start the small steps when? Now. And a small step is that registration for the class. Then pay the first installment. I'm yet to see someone to come, pay the first installment and say, this doesn't work for me. Because you don't have to have the full amount. Just start now. Those small steps make a big difference as we go along the way. And here's the thing. There will never be a convenient time. There never will be. There'll always be something that is in front of you that is taking you away. There'll never be a convenient time. I want you to think about it this way. You don't find time to change. You do what? You make it. If something matters to you, the same way that you took time out of your busy schedule to be in this room or online, taking a moment like this to learn, that's what has shifted your mind. And it was that small step that has opened your mind to so many things that you had never even thought about before. So take those small steps. You don't find the time, you do what? You make it. If it's important to you, make the time for it. And this is my last point for the day. Over the last couple of weeks, we've been doing a lot of retirement training. So as Centonomy, we offer training to corporate organizations. And so when people are retiring, they call us to say, how can you help them? Because they're going to receive a lump sum, they're receiving their pensions, they're planning for the future. What can you be able to do? That's what we come in and do. And overwhelmingly, no matter what strategy we give these retirees, no matter what wonderful investments we talk about, no matter the size of the packages that they're going to receive, even from their retirement, the one statement that comes over and over again is that we should have done this when? Earlier. And so you are in the earlier stage today. You see, the thing is, you can't change what has happened in the past. You can only change what is happening when? Right now. And so I'm challenging you, take that step, sign up for the class, come in and begin your journey towards financial freedom. We're going to do this. We've never done this before, but we're going to take some time today. And I'm going to invite you, for those who are interested, because we've had to run a little bit and move quite fast through what we were going through in this session. If you are interested, we'll take a couple of minutes as people are milling out and signing. You see, I can already see people registering, making sure that they're ready because they had to walk out. Thank you for those who are online and who are doing that registration as well. If you're convinced and you're ready and you have to leave, please do go and just make sure that if you've paid, if you've paid via Mpesa, there's no issue. You don't even have to wait there in line. If you're paying by cash, that's what you have to do. For the rest of us, if you're interested, we'll take a couple more questions once people have left because we want you to leave knowing what is going on. I want to leave you with this thought. The class begins on the 6th of June, so you have time to begin to plan. You have a month to think through, where am I getting the cash? What is the plan that I'm going to get through? Remember, it's registration today for open day because we're trying to get you to make a decision today. 500 shillings only, and then you get 12 modules. I forgot to mention this earlier. Each one of these classes is taught by an investment expert. It's not all me, not just the people that you're seeing here, in different fields, so that they're giving you their expertise. If you are able to see an investment expert for 2.5 hours for each one of these, let's just estimate 10,000 per person that you're going to see for that amount of time. That's over 120,000 shillings just for consultation. But in this case, you have access to each one of the trainers and they're giving you that information as you go through the class. So remember, all the classes are what? Online. So wherever you are in the world, you're able to participate. Make that choice today. We run the same class throughout the week. during the weekdays, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 p.m. East African time, or Saturday, 9 a.m. East African time. As I said before, you pay in installments. The first installment is 17,000 shillings, second one is 17, and the last one is 14. So you have time to prepare and plan. I'm going to invite you to register through Mpesa. So those of you who wanted the details, they're on the card that you received as you came in, but you can take a quick screenshot of that, take a photo, so you're able to make that payment today. For those who are online, you can take a quick screenshot so that you know the bank details. And finally, you can also use PayPal or Mpesa. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to do this for me if you don't mind. I want you to please stand to your feet, those who are in the room. Those who are at home, you can stretch a little bit. Everyone in the room, please stand to your feet. I needed one of my team members. I can see folks have run out of the room. I want you, as you are standing, to celebrate and to appreciate the hard work that was done by those who have come to speak in front of you. Can you please put your hands together for Mirriam Wachira? Mirriam, please come. We'd like to share this with you. You're so brave to share your story. Can we take a quick photo there with you? Excellent. Very good. And last but not least, Mr. Kingori Gathinji. Karibu, my dear brother. And please don't forget to see the team there as well. He has come with his team there. One more time for Mr. Kingori. There you go. There we go. We have a tradition here at Centonomy. We believe that God is the one who gives us the ability to create wealth. And so in all our sessions, we pray over those who come for a session like this. So let us pray. God, we thank you for this opportunity to learn, to grow, and to be able to hear what would change our lives. We pray that as we begin to make small steps towards our goals, all those who have registered into the class and those who will be joining us over the days, weeks, and months to come, may they learn, grow, and build wealth, not just for themselves, but for their children and their children's children. May we see Africa rise, and may we be a continent filled with your blessing. In Jesus' name we pray. So ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do it slightly differently. If you would like to continue to ask a couple questions about the program, maybe you have some questions on the investments that are there, I'll invite you to just sit down as you go. For those who need to leave, please do so quietly, and we'll try and address those questions as quickly as possible. You still have the mic, Sebastian, with you? So those who need to stay and respond to a couple of questions, you're welcome to stay. If you must leave, please leave quietly so that we can be able to address them. So I'll quickly take any questions from those seated in the balcony there. Just raise your hand. If you have a question that you wanted to ask, we'll be able to take it now. Anyone in the balcony up on that side, we are giving you the first opportunity because the microphone is there. Yes, there's a question at the far back there, Sebastian. Just make sure the microphone is on as we take that question.
Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Joseph.
Yes, Geoffrey.
I wanted to ask, do Centonomy offer incubations, or you only do with trainings and apprenticeship?
Sure, no problem. A quick response to that question is very easy. Our business model is education, Geoffrey. So we offer training. And we do so in the area of personal finance, which is what Centonomy 101 is, and also entrepreneurship. So we do recognize that the skill set between entrepreneurship and personal finance are different, and that's why we cover them separately. But we do so through group coaching in our training classes. Sebastian, I need you to run down, maybe come down through these stairs here to the front, otherwise we'll not be able to get. I'll take any questions on this side. If there's one that is burning on that side, yep.
Hi, my name is Anne. I've seen in this flyer there is Centonomy Entrepreneurship. Can you talk about it a little? Thank you.
So she's asked about the Centonomy Entrepreneurship Program. So we help entrepreneurs to begin to build profitable businesses. It's a separate program from Centonomy 101. And here's how to think about it. I think everybody needs to know how a business works. That's the key part, all right? Everyone needs to know how a business works. However, everyone needs to manage money. So that's why we called it Centonomy 101 for everybody, even business owners. And in fact, what we've discovered is that business owners can be the biggest problem in their own business because they keep stealing from their own business. So everyone needs to get their money functioning correctly as they build their business. The entrepreneurship program helps you to put together a plan. It helps you to put together a profitability plan. It also helps you to understand how to build capital for that business. And we can be able to assist you with more information about that. In case you need any information about the entrepreneurship program, you can see one of our colleagues at the desk there. Please ask for Ruby. Ruby is the head of entrepreneurship at Centonomy, and she'll assist you with that as well. So Sebastian, come over on this side. We'll start with the gentleman there, then there's some more questions over here.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Sure.
My name is David Onywera.
Yes.
I've been following this program for a while.
Yeah.
And in most platforms, I've only seen you talk about university students mostly, and maybe the grown-ups. Personally, I'm a Form 4 leaver.
Yeah.
And I was so interested in this. That's why I came today.
Yeah.
So I was just asking that for a Form 4 leaver, so can I also join? And if I can join, the number that you were sending us the message,
yeah,
constantly reminding us to come.
Yeah.
Is that the same number that when I want to start, I can reach you through?
Yes.
Because I must go at home first. I'm still in my parents' home. Yeah.
That's okay. I think you heard Mr. Kingori speak and say, when is the best time to start investing? As early as possible. Warren Buffett said 11 was too late. So in fact, you're late. So if you can, please do come. You are at the stage at which the information that you're learning here, Sebastian, over on this side here, there's a gentleman here at the front in white. You're at the stage in which this information will be very useful for you. And the choices that you're going to make will be completely different. Yes, so please do come. Please do come.
Thanks a lot. My name is Ken Jage.
Yes.
Mine is just a comment, and also to encourage my fellow participants.
Yes.
I've put off this program for the last 4 years, but today I came purposely to listen to you live, and I'm going to join. Thank you.
Hey. Don't put it off for another month. And in fact, you'll be the one to speak at the next open day. I'm going to call on you to come and say what 4 years did for you. When we calculate the investment you could have made. Yes, please. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a question that I don't, now regarding the Centonomy 101 and the entrepreneurship program. Now for someone who, how do I explain this? For someone who wants to grow their own business, yep, and also is also in charge of their parents' business, which of the two would you advise?
All right.
Because I also have personal goals.
Yeah.
But then again, I also want to help my parents grow their
to help them as well.
Yes.
Okay. This is the advice we usually give. If your primary source of income is your business, then it may make more sense to get your business right so that you're actually making money so that you can manage it. So we then recommend that you would start with the entrepreneurship program if your primary source of income is the business. If not, personal financial management is for everyone, especially entrepreneurs. Because business owners need to be able to invest not only in their business for them to grow. So that's the order in which I would recommend to you. That's the order. But either way, you're going to be able to get a result. Sebastian, I think she wants to just clarify something there. Very quickly, then we'll come to you there. And we just have 2 more minutes, then we have to head out. Yes, we'll get those questions.
When you say the primary source of business, do you mean my source of income, yes, as in between the two, which one is higher?
No, I am saying the primary source, if you didn't have it, you don't have a life at this point. So you need to think about that. If your business is the one that holds your life, then you need to think about that first. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem. And thank you to everyone for being so patient and waiting for us. And if we don't get your question, don't worry, we have an amazing team who will be able to support you there at the door so that you can get your question answered. Yes.
I'm Julie. My question is about the classes for now, the finance classes.
Yes.
Janet Mbugua mentioned a bit of mentorship.
Yeah.
And you explained that these courses are dealt with experts.
Yep.
About mentorship, can we have, or can someone get a mentor from the training of the financial perspectives that you are going to, those ones, yes, the modules?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we offer group coaching. So how it works is that you will be in a class with others. But in the same, as we're going through the program, we also put you into smaller groups that are managed within that team. You're able to meet separately from the class, have discussions that are going to go, and we have amazing groups that have grown into chamas that have become amazing investment groups over time. And so, yes, there is that element of it. And also, as we said, during the Living Abundantly class, it's taken by a life coach who can be able to also guide you in that direction as well. Is that okay? Great. So, last two questions, then we have to go. Please, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity.
That's okay.
You can refer to me as Chef Kabuda from Kabuda's Kitchen.
Yeah.
Now, my question is regards to maybe short-term financing.
Short-term financing?
Yes.
Okay.
So maybe as an entrepreneur, you have a challenge. Maybe you need some funds. You have an option for Fuliza. Maybe you have an option for an e-loan.
Yeah.
Obviously, you know how your business runs, so you know you'll get the money.
Yeah.
So how do you choose which one do you go for? Is it a Fuliza? Is it an e-loan? Which one is
Which
the
one
best?
is it? So what are you financing, very quickly?
You are financing maybe the recurrent expenditure. Maybe you've run out of stock.
Okay.
And then you need to get the money, but you know there is a supplier of yours who you know is going to pay you maybe in a week's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the issues that we talk about in the entrepreneurship program separately from this is that you have to begin to think about lines of credit. So as a business, if you have to pay on delivery and your clients are not necessarily paying on delivery, that gap is what we talk about, which can be supported through, especially like bank financing, using things like an overdraft. So when you talk about working capital for your business, there are multiple options. Now, depending on the size of that business, the size of the transactions that are being run, depending on that, you make a choice. It's too difficult for me to answer specifically because I don't know the nature of the business, the size of the transaction, and what your access to credit would be. Definitely an overdraft for most businesses would be the best option simply because of the payment terms and also the interest rate. When you go for a mobile loan, the interest rate by itself is extremely high. And so you have to watch out for that. Sebastian, this gentleman had his hand up for the longest period of time. I have to take his question. Shout it out to me before he comes. Yes, quickly. Just shout out from where you are. Thank you, sir.
For those who had not heard, I was just complimenting him on his presentation skills. I think he's very good, actually. As a presenter, as a speaker, it's very good. Now, my question would be, you've mentioned all those avenues for investment.
Yes.
I think for me, and I think when we raise the hand, the exercise that you gave for raising the hand, maybe if you raise your hand, please raise one hand for me, just like this.
Yes.
First of all, you decide to put on MMF. One, kidole moja chini, umeamua kuweka kwa MMF.
Okay.
Secondly,
yes.
Umeweka kwa insurance
yes.
as a long-term saving for your retirement. Weka kidole chini. Thirdly, unaweka kwa bank, emergency funding. Hiyo 6 months in case something ifanyike. Umeweka chini?
Yes. So we have
Fourthly, umeweka sasa ile insurance, ile medical.
Yes.
Si ndio?
Yes.
After umeanza kuweka medical, there's this other one.
Property insurance.
Kuna insurance in case something happens to you. There's life insurance.
Yes.
The number of things that actually demand for your money in terms of savings, and they are very good avenues. When is it enough? When is it, how do you know that you are overdoing it? Because the avenues are too many, the bonds, even the no more fingers now. Bonds, what, now they are becoming even confusing. So when do you know that actually this is enough? This is too much.
So, that's a really good question. Have you noticed during our Centonomy Open days and things like this, have you noticed we don't spend hours and hours talking about, let's talk about money market funds. Let's talk about, have you noticed that? Why? Because the number of investments that are in this world are too many for us to discuss in one session. So what do we do in the class? We say, what is the goal? So if my goal, and that's perfect example of what you've just said, if my goal is an emergency fund, which means I have cash available when there's an emergency that's coming up, then I have multiple examples. So we'll tell you either use a bank account, savings account, or a money market fund, or a SACCO. You see, all those fall into the same group. So whichever one you have chosen, it's achieving the same goal. Now, you are better off if you don't just have one, because even banks fail, even SACCOs fail. So what we do is say, pick one or two so that you mitigate against risk. Then we ask you, what's the next goal? The next goal is I want to have a comfortable retirement. No problem. That means that you look like a young man, so you have another 20, 30 years before retirement, right? So if you have 20, 30 years, it means we actually set in the goal, and it says, by the time I am age 60, I need to have assets worth 80 million shillings in order for those assets to sustain me. Now, based on that, you have a selection now of investments that will get you from where you are now to the 80 million shillings over a 20 to 30 year period of time. Then you make a selection. You cannot do all of them. But we do recommend having more than one so that if one fails, you have another one that is on the other side. So how do you know if it is enough? Is that if the outcome matches your goal. That's what we spend a lot of time in the class discussing. So ladies and gentlemen, I know those people who stand at the back, you know, who wait at the end like this, are the ones who are coming into the class. Please do. Why? Because I have each one of those classes is 2.5 hours, and most of the time we spend between 3 and 3.5 hours because of the questions that happen. And not only that, when you're in the class, you're able to reach out to me directly to respond to your question. We are being chased by the management of All Saints Cathedral because this is not our space. I have to end the questioning at that point, but let's meet out at the desk there and we can have a few more discussions as we go. God bless you all, and thank you for staying, guys. God bless you all. Take care.